Hello and a very good morning. Welcome to Shop on TV. Welcome to ITV. I'm Hayley Green.
And I'm Sean Crawley.
And we have got a really interesting show, a different show this evening, because we are going to give you that peace of mind. I bet there's something possibly that you know you should have done and you still haven't, and that is write a will.
And we're going to give you the opportunity to hear all about what you need to know when it comes to writing a will, because you might think it's going to be really expensive, you might think it's going to be really confusing. A Simpler Law join us tonight to talk you through everything, to hold your hand through that whole process.
And they truly do, and you might think that you don't need a will. Sean and myself have been together, I tried to work it out last time, with 33, 34 years, and we presumed that if anything happened to either of us, you know, our money would go to each other.
Yeah.
But that would not be the case. If you haven't got a will, that's not going to happen. And if you've remarried and got children from different families, it can be really complicated. And a will is so important. But I know for me, it's something that frightens me. It's something I don't want to think about, and it's something that will I know what to say? Will I know what to do? Honestly, Simpler Law truly do, like Sean says, hold your hand and make it so simple.
And we can be testament to that, because we've gone through the process. Not only are we going to be talking about wills tonight, we're also going to talk about lasting power of attorney. We did that with your mum, didn't we?
Yeah, which was something which again did terrify me, because it's just something I don't know about. It's you know, it's legal. I don't know how it works, but you don't need to know how it works. All you need to do today is get in touch to make that first step for Simpler Law to help you to get everything right, so you can then relax and know that what you want to happen is going to happen, and who you want to have certain items, or you know who you want to have. You know, your house, your money, your pets even, your children, all those things you've decided, and it's all written down by law. Yeah,
and we've got some great offers for you this evening. Not only, as I say, do we have wills, we have lasting power of attorney, and we also have a combination offer, which is the best offer of all. Let's show you those offers straight away, and then we'll show you how easy it is to get in touch with us.
And they are exclusive offers to us here on Shop on TV. So what you need to do tonight is actually make sure you secure these deals. So if you are going for the actual family and estate will, you can see there normally £180, £89 is your price today. And the lovely thing is you can split that cost over those 4 payments. So £22.25 is the first of 4 payments. So affordable, something you'd think it would be, you know, an expensive thing to do. It's probably just the cost of your coffee for a month.
Yeah, and tonight
crazy.
You're just securing that offer. That's the great thing.
No questions, you don't need to answer any questions.
Yes, you don't need any information with you.
Not at all.
We'll show you how to get in touch in a moment. The second offer that we've got is lasting power of attorney, as we say. The suggested retail price on that is £325. The Shop on TV price on the offer that we've got for you tonight, £179. And if you want to split that cost for interest-free payments directly with Simpler Law, £44.75.
And we will go into more detail about that. That is while you are still living, and perhaps you get an illness, you can't look after yourself. It's knowing that who you want to look after you is looking after you. But we'll go into that in more detail later. There are 2 different lasting power of attorneys as well. For my mum, we did both of them, and it was just so simple, and it was just such peace of mind. And I'll say that so many times, but such peace of mind that we know it's all set up and it's all ready to go. And then you can actually do a double up, which is your best value for money, which is the will and the lasting power of attorney. And you can see that normally £505, £249, and with your 4 payments that you can split that over those payments of just £62.25. Now, it's so easy just to secure the actual deal tonight. This is all you need to do. You don't need to answer any questions. You don't need to know too much.
No,
it's just securing the deal, and it's really simple to do that.
And an exclusive offer that we've got for you, the first 250 people who secure those appointments will get this free book. Now, this is worth £25. When the team first showed us this, well, we think it's worth so much more than that. This is about having all the details of everything you need when you pass. So not only your personal information, things like your pensions, all those documents that you need to find when someone passes away. Passwords perhaps for your bank account, passwords actually perhaps for Facebook, you know, there's everything. Just getting onto your tablet or your phone.
Yeah, in one place, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if something does happen, everything is in one place. Your family isn't hunting through boxes pages and trying to find all that information, because it's a horrible time as it is. To make it so simple, that book is, I think every person should have this book, and the first 250 people that secure the deal today will be getting that.
Now let's show you exactly how to get in touch, because this is really simple as well. Different to how you would usually get in touch. So if you want to go to the Simpler Law website, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV, that'll take you through to those offers that we've got exclusively tonight. You can call the call centre. The team are there waiting to take your call right now. The number is 0333 600 2600. And if you do call the call centre, they will either pick up the phone straight away, but if they're busy, and they will be busy in this first hour, they will call you back, won't they?
So yeah, they'll be there till 3 a.m. So, you know, it's entirely up to you. Both those ways. If you email in, they'll get in touch with you this evening. And of course, if you call, you'll be speaking them to this evening just to secure the deal. And then if you text, now texting was very popular last time we went to air. If you're texting and you're thinking, well, actually, I'd rather speak to somebody tomorrow, if you text Will to 66777, they will actually call you back tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, today. It's this morning.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. I get muddled with nights and mornings. So today, they'll call you back, but after 11 a.m. So they know you've been up late, you've been watching, so they won't call too early.
If the phones are busy, do keep trying if you want to get through on the phone. However, you can go to the website, remember. If you are on our website, however, there is a direct link to go through. So really if you go to shopontv.co.uk, you'll see on our website, on the homepage, there's a Wills and LPA offers banner. You'd click on that and it takes you straight through. And all you've got to do is fill in that simple, detailed form.
There's a couple of questions, that's it. Your name, your telephone number, your email, and then just submit that. And that will allow you to secure the deals that we're talking about this morning. Really lovely to have your company, and it is that peace of mind, and it is something we put off, and it's something I find terrifying, but actually with Simpler Law, and we know this because prior to working with them here on Shop on TV, we've actually dealt with with Simpler Law to actually get my mum's lasting power of attorney, to sort out our wills. It's so easy.
And the team were brilliant.
Oh, that's so nice.
There's nothing to be afraid of. Now, joining us in the studio this morning, we've got Ian and Helen from Simpler Law. Lovely to see you both.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Ian, we're going to start with you straight away. I want you to explain for us, if you would, who Simpler Law are.
I'd rather you ask Helen.
I thought you might say that.
Simpler Law, we're part of a group that specialises in estate planning. We offer a full range of private client legal services. If we're not the largest in the UK now, we're certainly one of them. We've got over 200,000 satisfied clients. We manage over £500 million of assets for our clients as well. But what we do is we specialise in estate planning. So we specialise, like you've experienced yourselves, in helping people basically ensure that their wishes are fulfilled. Because I think what we're going to talk about a lot this morning is the fact that there's a lot of myth and there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. There's a lot of assumption that things are going to just be okay, and that breeds a bit of complacency. Our job is to say, look, it might not be what you think it is. Speak to us, because we want to help you make sure that what you want to happen is going to happen. And that's what Simple Law do. You don't come to us for things like a divorce or a personal injury claim or a boundary dispute. But if you want to protect your assets and you want to make sure that your loved ones are taken care of, that's what you come to us for.
And you specialise in that. We can see all the different services that Simpler Law offer there on the screen. We're going to start off with the service of writing a will, and it is something that we all should do, isn't it?
Absolutely, but there are so many misconceptions, aren't there, that I think a lot of us expect things to happen when you die, and the truth is they actually won't, will they?
No, that's right. You're absolutely right. All of the misconceptions relate to what happens if you die, normally without a will in place. And people do think that things will be okay. You know, you talked about your own situation and being an unmarried couple, but even though you've been together for a number of years, or perhaps living together, or perhaps have children together, there's this misconception that there's a legal relationship called a common law spouse. And that doesn't actually exist.
We just presume.
Yeah, because
yeah.
we've been together for so long. But the truth is that we wouldn't get each other's.
That's exactly right. If something happens to one of you, the other one is not entitled to inherit anything at all. And people are living, you know, in this day and age, people live in relationships. They choose not to get married, you know, or they've been married previously, and this is how they choose to live. And it just causes all sorts of problems if you don't actually have a will in place. There's so many other things as well, like people assume on the flip side, if you are married, that your spouse will receive everything from your estate. And that's not true either. You know, depending on what your estate consists of and what family you have, they might not receive everything. And also people think, well, actually, I haven't got anything, you know, I haven't got much to leave, or, you know, my family know, this is what we hear a lot, my family know what I want to happen. They already know, it's all fine, everybody knows, there won't be any arguments. But the fact is, unless you put those wishes in a legally binding document, that's not going to happen. That's not what's going to happen when something happens to you.
And life is quite complicated now because lots of people remarry, they've got children with different partners, and that can make it very confusing, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not unusual for us to see people on their second or third marriage. They've got children from different relationships. And unless you think about those legal relationships that you have, we'll talk later about the rules of intestacy and the rules that apply if you haven't got a will in place, but they can be absolutely catastrophic to people with children from different relationships.
Gosh.
And you've got such an upset already. To have all that complication on top of that, and I'm sure lots of family fallouts because what you thought was going to happen isn't actually happening.
They're the worst conversations. We deal a lot with estate administration, and we get clients who phone us or families who phone us and say, I've got mum's will, we know exactly what was supposed to happen, and although it's a difficult time, it's almost like it helps them know that her wishes are going to be carried out. And on the flip side, we get calls from people from families where they say, look, mum's passed away, but she didn't have a will, and we talk them through what's going to happen, and it's horrible when they say that's not what she wanted.
No.
That is not what she wanted.
The legal route that has to happen.
And nothing else can happen, can it?
Sorry, Hayley, the nice thing about what you said tonight, or this morning, is that you realised that what you wanted to happen wasn't going to happen, so you did something about it. So that's great, so you're sorted. The worst phone calls we have to make sometimes from the office is if that couple haven't sorted it out, they find out at the worst time possible. So that bereavement is compounded, it's made worse. So let's be honest, a will doesn't make a bereavement any better, but it certainly doesn't make it worse. It's a selfless thing because you will get peace of mind from it. When people go through the process with us, they find it quite cathartic. But you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for people that you care about, the people that you leave behind, because you're removing an additional burden. And in some cases, and I think Helen's right, it sounds a little bit melodramatic, but when you pass away without a will in place, it can literally tear families apart. And, you know, and no one wants that. But for the sake of a few pound and for the sake of half an hour of your time, you can fix it all. And that's why we do these shows, to encourage people to take that first step.
And your will is like your final gift to your loved ones.
It's your last act on planet Earth, truthfully. It is your final gift.
It's your final gift.
All your wishes are there, aren't they, and written down.
The book that comes alongside the first 250 people that secure the actual deals that we've got today is fantastic. And I think every home and every person should have this. There's so much money out there that is just lost, isn't there?
Yeah, it's really difficult to keep track, you know, and especially like today as well, in the digital world where we've got things all over the place. It's not always easy just to find bits of paper where stuff is, so it's very easy for things to go missing. This really was born out of our estate administration department and the kind of work they have to do when they're gathering all the details of someone's estate. Some interesting stats that I know are in that book. What we found out was there's lots of money that's gone unclaimed. In the UK, it's believed there's £5 billion worth of pension funds that haven't been claimed.
Gosh.
So you imagine lots of people might have had little jobs, you know, for a period of time, and there's a pension pot there. They might have invested in a pension, then stopped, and there's a pot there. £5 billion has gone unclaimed in the UK.
That's crazy.
Likewise with life insurance policies, they reckon that there's £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies. So that's money that life insurance companies have managed to hold on to that haven't gone to families or to loved ones as expected because the policy's never been found or located.
This is when family don't know about the policies or they can't find the policies.
And this speaks to what we're talking about this morning, that we keep putting these things off, and unfortunately when it's too late here, it's too late to do anything, and then these types of things happen. There's £850 million just sat in UK banks unclaimed. So, you know, you might have had a savings account when you were younger that you still just put a standing order in or a direct debit to. You know, you might even have the secret gambling account from your wife. That's not true, Jeannie. But as daft as it sounds, all these things add up. And we're not talking thousands or hundreds of thousands. We're talking billions of pounds here that should be with your loved ones that aren't. And that's where this book came from. So we encourage you to document financial matters, but you made a brilliant point as well. We live a digital life now. Lots of our, you know, treasured photographs are on our devices, but if your device only opens with your Face ID or your password, those often can't be accessed.
You've lost all those photographs.
So all those kind of things went into this book. So we're really proud of it, and you're right, it's incredibly popular, but that's why we're also giving it to the first £250 security.
I mean, lots of people want to buy this, and I know it's worth £25, but the first 250 people that just secure the deal this morning, you will get that free of charge, and it's so good.
There's loads of things in here that you won't know that they're a problem until you have to find things. Things like your bills, your TV, your phone, your gas and your electric, all those things that you think, oh, well, I'm sure it'll be easy to sort out. All the information can be in this book, and that can be yours for the first 250 people who get in touch and make an appointment. The offers we've got for you tonight are brilliant from Simpler Law. We are going to go into more depth about power of attorney for you, but the first one to mention is the family and estate will. A suggested retail price of £180, and do you know what? For peace of mind, that'd be a brilliant price, but our offer tonight is £89, and then you can split that cost across 4 interest-free payments with Simpler Law, £22.25 on your first of 4 payments.
It makes it so affordable. I think you instantly think doing a will is going to be expensive, but it honestly isn't, and it's so simple with Simpler Law as well. Lasting power of attorney, only just recently, sort of the last couple of years, set that up for my mum, and again, I was petrified. I didn't know, will I know what to say? It's so simple to set up. When you're working with Simpler Law, they'll talk you through everything. You won't need to know the answers. They'll discover the answers as you chat to them. They become like friends. The lady I dealt with, I was constantly emailing, just double checking, and nothing was. And I never felt a fool asking any questions. £325 is the price it should be, worth every single penny of that. But our special deal for Shop on TV is £179 tonight, and you have got 4 payments there, £44.75. So you can split that over 4 costs, which is fantastic. And then you can get the 2 together. Yeah,
the best offer of all, if you want to go for the will and the lasting power of attorney, it should be a suggested retail price of £505. Comes down to less than half that, £249 on the Shop on TV offer, £62.25 on your first of 4 payments if you want to spread the cost interest-free. When you get in touch, you can secure the offer tonight, and there are lots of ways to get in touch for you. We've made it really, really simple. First of all, you can go to the Simpler Law website, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV, and that'll show you those exclusive offers. However, if you want to call through to the call centre, 0333 600 2600. If you can't get through, because they will be busy on this first hour, do try and ring back and get through and make that appointment. Take that 5 minutes to have that peace of mind.
It's that first step to actually getting that peace of mind that you've done something that you perhaps have put off for ages. And if you are going to bed, or perhaps you just don't fancy talking to anybody right now, do text Will as well to 66777, and what will happen then is you won't need to speak to anybody right now. They'll ring you after 11 a.m. this morning, so I think that's a really good way, and that was really popular last time, so it's nice, so you can just watch the show and know that someone will ring you after 11 a.m. this morning. And remember, this bit, it's all so simple, but you don't need to answer any questions. It's just you're taking that first step to make that difference, to give you that peace of mind.
Yeah, you don't need anything with you. You don't need any information. No. It's just making that first step, that first move. If you've put off writing a will, and maybe it's just the point that I must write a will, and you just never get round to it.
And
this is
life
a great
takes
way
over, doesn't it? And we know that. We're busy working, we're busy with kids, you're busy with grandchildren, and it's never too early really to write a will. I know we all think we're here forever, but sadly we all know that's not the case, and you don't know what's around the corner. And can you imagine, and obviously I don't know what happens after we've passed, but can you imagine looking down and your family fighting, and what you wanted to happen isn't happening?
Lasting.
It'd be devastating, wouldn't it? Because you know what you want, you know who you want to have certain things, you know who you don't want to have certain things.
Yes, that's a good point.
So it's that real peace of mind that what you want to happen when you're not here actually does happen, because what you think will happen doesn't. If it's not in a will, it's not legal.
Now, do get in touch. You've got those different ways that are so simple. But if you want someone to get back to you tomorrow, remember, just text the word will, WILL, to 66777, and someone will call you after 11 o'clock this morning, isn't it?
And we will go into detail of lasting power of attorney as well, which is really, really important. And we'll be running through all of that and giving you loads of information. But remember, the first step today is to make that difference and get in touch. Hello and a very good morning. Welcome to Shop on TV. Well, welcome now to STV. We're already on ITV1. It's really lovely to have your company. I'm Hayley Green.
And I'm Sean Crawley, and we've got a great show tonight.
We've got a very different show.
Yeah, very different.
Tonight, and I think it's a show that will give you complete peace of mind. I think it's a show that you'll think, what? Oh gosh, yeah, I've been thinking about doing that for ages. Have you been putting off writing a will? Has just life taken over and you haven't got round to it? Our director right now hasn't got a will. And he's getting married in a couple of years, or next year. And he's like, I don't really need to have a will yet. We'll be married next year. But you don't know what is around the corner. And if you haven't got a will, what you presume is going to happen doesn't happen.
Yeah, it might be a parent or a grandparent even who hasn't yet got a will, and you're concerned what's going to happen without it.
Well, it was us, wasn't it?
It was us.
We didn't have a will, and we presumed, we're not married, but we've been together 33, 34 years. I just presumed, we both just presumed, that if anything happened to either of us, that, well, we've been together all that time. So obviously, that we bought the house together. Obviously, it all splits between the two of you.
It's not the
case at all. You need to write a will. And when we discovered that was one of the first things we did. And we thought, how foolish, because you just don't know what's around the corner.
And what this show is about tonight is about starting that process for you, if you like. We're going to be talking about wills. We're also going to talk about lasting power of attorney. And we're working alongside a company called Simpler Law, who are bringing us these brilliant offers tonight.
They're making the law so simple. And if it's something that does, for me, things like this petrify me. It's law, will I know what to say? Will I ask a silly question? Honestly, they will be like your friends. When we did the lasting power of attorney for Mum, the lady we dealt with was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was like chatting to a friend. We didn't need to know anything really, because she got all the information out of us, because you're dealing with somebody, you're dealing with a company that truly knows everything you need to know.
Yeah, nothing was too much trouble. Now, we've got great offers available for you, so we'll run you through the offers straight away before we meet the team from Simpler Law. 3 different bundles here, but you don't have to just have these bundles. If there's something bespoke that you want, you can talk to the team.
No, absolutely. Just secure these deals, and if it is something different you need, honestly, Simpler Law will sort it for you. So if you are going for the will, the family and estate will, you can see there normally £180. £89 is our Shop on TV special deal tonight. You can split that over 4 payments. So actually £22.25 is the first of those 4 payments. So affordable. I think you just imagine it's going to be something really expensive, and it honestly isn't. You probably spend that on coffee over a month, which is, the price of coffee, it's crazy. So honestly, grab that deal. You just need to secure it, and we'll explain how to do that.
I think that's one of the things that would put people off, the cost that they think's involved.
Well, you just imagine it's going to be, it's law, it's going to be really expensive,
course,
but that's not the case. Lasting power of attorney.
Yeah, this is another offer we've got, and we're going to go into this throughout the show. So important. I got this for my mum when she was poorly. Without it, would have been a nightmare. We'll explain why. Same with you. We've done it through Simpler Law for your mum, haven't we? The deal, though, the suggested retail price on that is £325. Our Shop on TV offer is £179. And if you want to spread the cost, Simpler Law are offering interest-free payments. So in your first of 4 interest-free payments, £44.75.
And there are 2 different powers of attorney, and we'll go through and run through them. We did both, and I think, it's entirely up to you, but I would recommend doing both. And then you have got the will and the lasting power of attorney as a bundle, which is phenomenal. So it should be £505, £249 is your price this evening. So that is £62.25 over those 4 payments, which you can split completely interest-free. The first 250 people. I lowered that completely.
It was 20 out already.
That'd be too late. 250 people will get as well this fabulous book, What My Family Should Know. And it truly is what your family should know. And I think absolutely everybody, possibly at birth, you should be given this book because this book is just going to make it so much easier when something does happen. All your information is in one place. Where's all your information now? I said to my mum the other day, you know, where are all your bits and bits?
Yeah.
In loads of different places and boxes and here and there. It's all in one place.
It's bank accounts, saving accounts. It could be insurance policies. It could be things like your passwords
for your Facebook or for your phone.
Yeah, all your social media.
So much is on your phone.
Or just to open your tablet.
Yeah.
And where you might have all your favourite photos on your tablet. So everything in one place.
But it's all in that book. And that book is worth £25, and lots of people, when it's gone, want to buy it. But please, if you're one of the first 250 people this morning, you will get that book. Now, to secure the deals, it's really easy. There's various different ways to do it. You can either email, and if you email this morning, I know I say this evening, this morning, it's a funny time, isn't it, this time? So if you email this morning, Simpler Law will get back to you this morning. So you've got the email address there. If you ring, and do bear with them, it's always busy for the very first hour, but do ring. The team are right there waiting to hear from you. 0333 600 2600, and you can speak. And this is just securing the deals. You don't have to answer any tricky questions. All you need to do is secure your deal, and then they'll get in touch and sort out a date that's right for you to actually have the appointment. But what a lot of people really like to do is actually text Will to 66777, and that's a really easy way.
Yeah, if you don't want anyone to get in touch with you tonight, you want someone to call you back tomorrow, and that's the best way to get in touch. Just text the word Will, WILL, to 66777, and one of the team from Simpler Law will get in touch tomorrow, and you'll have secured the offer.
After 11, it'll be this morning, because it feels like tomorrow, but it'll be this morning after 11 a.m. They know you've been up late tonight with us, so they won't ring too early. And again, it's just securing that deal. I know lots of people loved using that text last time we had a show, so please do make sure you jot just the numbers down and get in touch, because that's your first step today to, I think, complete peace of mind that what you want to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, and if you've been putting off writing a will, or you just haven't got round to
Life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We put everything, there's loads of things that happen and things get put back. But there's going to be a time when, if you haven't written a will, what you want to happen doesn't happen, because legally it can't. We've got an amazing couple of people from Simpler Law with us, haven't we?
We have, yeah. A couple of the directors join us from Simpler Law, and we've got Ian and Helen with us for the show. Lovely to have both of you company again.
Thank you.
Ian, we're going to start with you, which I know you'll love. Tell us a little bit more about the company, if you would, Simpler Law.
No problem. Well, Simpler Law is part of a group of companies that specialise in estate planning and providing private client legal services. So we offer a full range of private client legal services, which means we don't have to outsource any of our work, which means we control the quality of the work and the paperwork that we get to our clients. But essentially, you don't come to a company like ours if you're talking about a boundary dispute or a personal injury claim or a divorce, that kind of thing. But if you want to protect your assets, if you want to look after your loved ones and you want to look after yourself, then you speak to us, because that's what we specialise in. So our client care team, that you've rightly said, are there this morning waiting to take your call. They've heard it all, they've seen it all, they can help you. And that's what we do. We put our clients at the heart of everything that we do, and we can only offer them a bespoke service, because this is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
No one document we draft is identical.
Of course.
It's bespoke every single time, because it's your circumstances, it's your instructions. So that's what we do as a company, and that's why we do these shows, because we want to reach as many people as we can, because hopefully, as we're going to find out over the next few minutes and hours, it's so important to do, because the ramifications and the implications of not having a will in place can be genuinely catastrophic. Yeah. And
it's
people aren't aware of that.
Losing someone, isn't it? And then if you haven't got a will, it just makes it 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, the thing is, when you decide to make a will, you're doing it for someone else. You're doing it for the people that you care about. It's a really selfless act. Don't get me wrong, you'll find it very cathartic when you go through the process. No one ever regrets putting their estate planning in place, but your family might regret that you didn't, and that's the crux of it. So making a will is really selfless, but it does mean that you're not making a bad situation worse, because it doesn't diminish the bereavement.
No.
But what it does is it doesn't make it worse. You imagine that you've lost someone that you love, and then you're getting the worst news ever that actually what they wanted and what you knew they wanted to happen is now not going to happen. And sadly, that happens more often than you would like to think. In fact, it happens every day.
Of course it does. And when it comes to will writing, Helen, there's lots of misconceptions, aren't there? People think certain things that aren't right.
Yeah, that's right. People don't really, I mean, it's not the sort of thing that you kind of research or
discuss
you have a conversation around the coffee table about what happens if you die without a will in place. And I think a lot of people just assume it'll be okay, or they just don't want to think about it. You know, things like if you're married previously but you've separated, it might be that you choose not to get divorced, but actually you've still got that legal relationship with that person, which means when something happens to you, that person, for all intents and purposes, is still your spouse. They will still receive a hefty chunk of your estate. So it's really thinking about your personal circumstances. And I can guarantee everyone's situation is different. Their family situation is different. The things they want to happen with their estate, the assets they own, things like that, it's all individual for every person. And if we could just have 5 minutes conversation with everyone and talk about their specific circumstances, they'll realise that the things they think are going to happen without a will is not what's going to happen at all. And the only way to make sure your wishes are carried out is to make sure it's documented in a legal document.
And life is so complicated now, isn't it? A lot of people remarry, have got children from different marriages.
Yeah.
And it could mean that some children completely miss out.
That's exactly right, yeah. I mean, one of the big examples, if you've got a married couple who both have children from different relationships, under the intestacy rules, what happens is the first person dies and the majority of their estate will pass to the survivor because they're a married couple. But when that second person dies, the law then stipulates that it recognises only their bloodline. So it means the first spouse to die, their children are not going to get anything at all. They're completely disinherited. And a lot of people don't realise that that's the case. They think that in the eyes of the law, they'll all be treated equally. And it's just not the case.
And you can understand why that would cause a family feud, family upset.
Absolutely.
And that's heartbreaking when you're already in a terrible situation that you've lost a loved one.
Yes, and it puts those children in a really difficult situation because it's not their doing. You know, it's the law that says that these are the ones that are inheriting, and it just causes that unnecessary arguments where it didn't need to be like that at all.
Family bereavement is the single biggest cause for a breakdown in family relationships, and that's usually compounded because the person who passed away didn't take the time to plan. And quite often couldn't foresee what the problems were, because you can only know what you know. Helen's absolutely right. You don't sit down and make your cornflakes in the morning and say, oh, shall we talk about death today?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not something that comes to the fore. But again, that's why we do these shows. We want to get the message out there that, look, for a very little amount of money and for a very short period of time, you can do something absolutely amazing for your families. And sometimes when we're going through the consultation process with our clients, they're blown away by what could have happened if they hadn't done this.
I think so many people just don't realise what will happen if they haven't got a will, because we just presume, don't we? And it's so quick and so simple with Simple Law to sort your will out, and with our deals today, so affordable as well. And it's never sort of too early to think about it, because I think we all think as well, oh, I won't need a will until I'm old.
Well,
and that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It can. We don't know what's around the corner, and you know, some people are superstitious about it. They think, well, if I start thinking about it, I'm kind of almost tempting fate. Right. It's not. I've never seen that as a cause of death on a death certificate.
No.
You know, get your will in place, because then it's done. You know, everyone's got this voice in the back of their head saying, yeah, I need to do this. Once you've done it, you've got that peace of mind. It's not the only time you have to do your will. I have people that say to me, well, I'm too young. I don't know what's going to happen. The director who's saying, well, I'm getting married in a couple of years, you know, I'll be doing it then, so why should I do it now? It doesn't mean that it's fixed at this point in time. You can review it. We offer a number of packages where you can actually update it as well.
Right.
So speak to the people you know, the client care team about
So if
that.
anything changes, you want
But
to
it's,
change anything.
yeah, it's not a one-off, but you should draft your will for your circumstances as they are now, because you're right, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
It's frightening because we've had people in our lives that have had accidents that are completely unexpected.
Completely.
You don't know it's going to happen, and without a will in place, it can cause, as we've said, such absolute nightmares.
Such
can't
an
it?
upset, family feuds, family, you know, breakups, and you can you imagine? And I know I said this at the top of the show, and I don't know what happens when we pass, but can you imagine looking down and seeing your family, you know, truly upset because they know what you wanted, but it's not actually happening by law. It's not happening because you didn't write a will. It's your final gift to write that will to make sure that everybody that you wanted to have something or certain things has them, and also the people you didn't want to have certain things don't have them, and it's so important. We've got incredible deals, but also if you are securing the deal this morning, you do get a fabulous book, and
Yeah,
this book
this is great.
is phenomenal. I think everybody, I think when you're born, you should be given this book because this book is completely priceless. You can buy it, it's £25, but we have got 250 of them for the first 250 people that actually secure the deal this morning. And this, Ian, really allows us to find every bit of information that we need.
It allows you to take stock. Yeah, we've all got lots of things that we perhaps don't think we've got. You know, lots of people have the bank account, they might have a joint bank account, but they might have an old savings account, they might have a number of pensions, for example, they might have life insurance policies, and then it goes beyond the obvious financial things and it speaks to things like your passcodes for your devices. Because I think, Sean, you mentioned, you know, we all keep our photos and videos, all our precious things now are on digital devices that are either open with a face or a passcode. So if that's not passed on, sometimes these devices can't be accessed. So lots of things can be lost very, very easily. So this just allows you to make a brew, sit down and take stock of what you've got. And it was born really out of our estate administration department. Their job when someone passes away is to gather in their estates, to understand everything that they've got. And this helps make that job easier. But some really fascinating statistics came out, scary at the same time. There's £5 billion of unclaimed pension pots in the UK.
Wow.
So that's people that have paid into a pension, but when they've passed away, it's never been claimed, so it's just sat there.
Yeah.
There's £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies. So someone has paid into a policy, that policy is not being found when they've passed away, so the life company has never paid out. 2 billion.
Gosh.
There's 850 million just sat in UK bank accounts that, again, haven't been found. So when we help our clients, part of this is to help them take stock of everything that they've got and make sure that what they want to leave, everything they've worked hard for, actually does end up where they want it to go. And unfortunately, you know, the reason we have to do this show is this presumption, this assumption that everything's going to be okay is miles off the mark. If you want to make sure that everything you worked hard for goes to the people that you want it to go to, you have to do that with a legally binding document. That's why you have to do a will.
So you'll be able to find everything that you need
Yeah.
when someone passes, because that can be a nightmare in itself, can't it? Just finding utility bills and bank accounts and all those things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But everything's in this book. So
Everyday
you'll be
things that you know about, but when you're gone, you can't tell anybody about.
Exactly.
It's all there.
It's part of the selfless thing again.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
it's really selfless because, yeah, I think you do get some peace of mind from this, and I've used the word cathartic, but I do think when people go through this process, they do find it quite cathartic. But it's genuinely a selfless act. You're doing something absolutely amazing for your family and your loved ones because you're basically taking away any ambiguity, any concerns, any risk, if you like. You're saying, this is what I want to happen when I pass away. And by the way, if you were the first 250 to secure the deal today, you get one of these for free, and you can say, look, this is where everything is as well. You're just making you're making a really awful time just that little bit easier. What you're definitely doing is you're not making it worse. And sadly, as we'll discover as we go through the show, it can get a lot worse if you pass away without planning.
It is like your final gift to your family and your loved ones, because if you haven't got a will, sadly, what you think will happen or you want to happen is not going to happen if it's not, you know, legally bound. We've got incredible deals tonight or this morning, and those deals are a special deal for us on ShopOnTV. So if you are thinking, yep, it's time, have a look at these prices, because I think the other thing we might think, I know for me I find it sort of petrifying because it's law and I won't know what to say, that Simpler Law make it so easy. You don't need to really know anything apart from your name. They'll talk you through and hold your hand through everything. But have a look at that price for the family and estate will. At £180, it's probably a lot cheaper than you thought it was going to be, but our special deal, and you'll unlock that deal and secure that deal if you get onto the phones on the website, it is £89 today, and that'll split to 4 payments, £22.25. So making it so affordable. And £22.25, you know you can spend so easily in a month, perhaps even just on coffees. You can't even get a takeaway for that now.
No, nowhere near. Not the only deal that we've got, remember. We are going to go more in depth a little bit later into the show about lasting power of attorney. A £325 suggested retail price, or usual price, down to £179 on the ShopOnTV offer that we've got for you. £44.75 on your first of 4 interest-free payments if you want to spread the cost with those interest-free payments with simpler law. And then the best buy of all, if you want to get the combination, the will and the LPA, this is a brilliant deal, isn't it?
So it should be £505, £249 is our price on ShopOnTV, and that will split over those 4 payments, £62.25. So all really affordable to give you that peace of mind and to make sure what you want to happen actually happens, because sadly that's not the way. If you presume, Sean and myself been together 33 years. Why can't I work it out?
Feels like a lifetime, doesn't it, darling?
Feels like 55. But we've been together, you know, and living together, working together. We've always been together. So just presume that we've bought a house together, that's, you know, it would pass to each, and it actually
not
wouldn't.
the case.
And it's not the case at all. Now, Helen, for anybody that is watching, why should they choose simpler law to write their will? Why are you so special?
Well, it's such a serious decision, isn't it? I mean, you're trusting somebody to do something that is really important. So I think you need to make sure that you are using a specialist. And as we said, this is what we do every single day. You know, we specialise in estate planning. All the usual reasons that you would look to find a law firm, things like professional indemnity insurance. Every document that we produce is fully insured, so you've got that peace of mind. You want a fully trained and qualified group of staff who are dealing with it. So we've not only got our client care team on the phone, we've got a group of will drafters, we've got a compliance team, all are very highly trained and specialised in this area, so you can be reassured that you're getting the very best advice. We've got a 5-star Trustpilot rating, which we're really proud of, because that means that our clients have taken the time to actually go on there and say, yes, this company have done a good job for us. So we're really proud of that, and that's down to our client care team and our staff that do such a good job for everybody that speaks to them. So those kind of things. But I think the most important thing for us is that we put the client at the very heart of everything that we do. So from that very first conversation with the client, they are our focus. You know, we will take things at the speed that you want to go at. So if it takes you a little bit of time to, you know, some people find it very easy to give will instructions. They know exactly what they want. It's very much a paperwork exercise, and, you know, they can deal with it straight away. For other people, it's a bit more of an emotional thing, you know, whether it's because of their circumstances or they just find it difficult to think about no longer being around. For them, it might take a little bit longer, and our client care team will take it at whatever pace you want. We won't produce your documents until you're 100% happy with the instructions that you've given us. You know, so I think the client journey is what makes us special and makes us stand out.
There's no pressure. When we worked with your team, because we did the lasting power of attorney for Hayley's mum, there was no pressure.
No.
You were never felt made to feel stupid, you know, because it's out of your realm, isn't it? It's out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. There'll be people watching who think, well, I don't know anything about this. You know, I know I need to do it, but I don't know anything about it. That's what the client care team do. Before you even have your appointment, you'll receive some information from us, so you'll know exactly the sorts of things we're going to be asking. It just gives you that bit of time to think about it. And then our team are trained to extract that information from you. So we'll ask all the questions. All you need to do is answer the questions that we're asking.
It's very much like a conversation like we're having.
Yeah, that's
morning,
exactly
you know,
right.
and you're having
very
that
relaxed.
It is, and you do. It's not complicated. You don't really have to think, because you do get everything out of us that you need. And the great thing is you're dealing with a team that truly do know how to make things right. And if you haven't written a will, things won't be right. And if you write a will, they will. What you want to happen will happen. So, Helen, can we ask you why it is so important to actually write a will?
Because it's your last wishes, isn't it? It's the only way of making sure that they happen. these shows that we do are all about you taking control over your assets and things like that. For a lot of people, it's so important that certain things end up in certain hands, you know, and more importantly, that other people don't inherit.
Yes.
Because the intestacy rules, which we'll go into, will just treat everybody exactly the same. And we know that, you know, just the four of us sat here, our circumstances are all very different. You know, how can one set of rules
fit everybody?
Yeah, exactly right. And a will is such a powerful document. You know, we all think, well, a will dictates who gets what, but there's so much more to it than that. You know, you can appoint guardians for your children, which we'll talk about, that is really important. You know, you can pass on family heirlooms, you can make charitable donations, you can make provisions for your pets. That's such a big thing.
I hadn't even thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, people love their animals, a lot of them more than their families, and they want to look after their pets when they're not around, either by leaving a donation to a charity and asking that they're rehomed, or passing them on to a friend but making sure there's financial support there. Even funeral wishes, you know, something as simple as funeral wishes is so personal to the family that you're leaving behind, and all of that can be documented in your will. It's so much more than just who gets what. There's so much more to it.
And Andy, why do you think people don't make wills?
I'm Ian, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Andy was better than me on the last show, wasn't he?
No,
To be honest, Andy.
No.
we're loving you, Ian.
Sorry.
We are loving you. I'm sorry, I knew I'd do it at one point. Why do you think people don't actually make wills, Ian?
I'm utterly forgettable, Hayley. Don't worry.
I did
think
say I wasn't great with names.
there's a lot of apathy around it. We've discussed it already this morning that, you know, there's an assumption or a presumption that everything's going to be okay, so of course that breeds apathy. I don't need to do anything. The complacency comes from that. I don't need to do anything. And this sounds awful, but I don't mean it to. There's ignorance. Because, you know, we've discussed already that we don't really sit down and talk about this. And that ignorance comes, I'm ignorant about everything else outside of this. Some of my colleagues will say I'm ignorant about this. But in all seriousness, you can only know what you know. The second that you can sit down with one of our consultants, their job is to get to know our client. They will ask you those series of questions to find out about you and your family and your makeup, and then we'll give you advice. Whether you take our advice or not is entirely up to you.
Right.
But the whole point of this is your situation is unique to you. So we'll take as long as it takes to have that conversation with you. We'll give you whatever advice we need to give you that will be appropriate to your circumstances, and then you decide how much of that advice you take, if any. But at the end of it, you'll always get the will that you want. But the reason that people put that off is I think they think that process is going to be difficult, expensive or complicated. And I think by doing these shows we demonstrate quite clearly that it's certainly not expensive, and I promise you it's not difficult. Our client care team have seen every situation. Sometimes clients are sat there thinking, mine's so complicated I wouldn't know where to start. That isn't your problem, that's our problem.
Right.
And I promise you that we'll uncomplicate it for you. But you've got to pick up the phone and give us that opportunity to do that. And then you've done something amazing for your family. So I do think it sounds a little harsh, but I think ignorance plays a big part, because we don't go on a search engine and go, what happens when I die? And we hear it a lot, oh, we're common law husband and wife, or, you know, our family, it might be a blended family, but we've been together for 20 years, so I'm sure the law will treat us as a family. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. The only way to guarantee that what you want to happen when you're no longer here happens is to take control and make a will. So if you sat there this morning watching this and thinking, I've been thinking about it, don't put it off, because life will get in the way. If you don't want us to speak to you tonight, we understand that. It's the early hours. Just text the word will to 66777 and we'll call you back later this morning after 11. Or just the client care team are there now. Just secure the deal. Don't put it off, because tomorrow morning you'll wake up and life will get in the way again. And unfortunately, it's an obvious statement, but when it's too late, it's too late. So
Let's
do it now.
remind everyone how easy
The
it is to get in
absolute truth
touch.
that if you don't actually do it now, you are going to be in a situation where you do put it to the back of your mind, and then another year goes by and you still haven't written that will, and still you're in that situation, your loved ones won't get what you want them to get. So easy to get in touch. You can either email, and again they will get back in touch with you this morning, and that's simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. You can go onto our website as well, and we will show you that in a moment. We'll show you right now, and we'll go back to the phone numbers in a moment. So you go and click onto, there's a yellow box on the the first page.
On our homepage,
Click onto that, it'll take you through to this page. You'll see the deals, and then you scroll down. Now, at the bottom, all we need, very simple, your name, which sometimes I don't know my own name, but I'm sure you know yours. Your name, your telephone, your email, and then you've got all your 3 easy questions, and then you just submit that. You can jump onto the phones as well, and the phone lines, you've got a really friendly, helpful team ready and waiting, and they're there till 3 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the customer care team as we go through the show. The number is 0333 600 2600. They might be very busy in this first hour, so if you don't get through, you can try again. However, if you want to speak to someone tomorrow rather than tonight, and we were really busy on this last time we did the show, you can text. Just text the word WILL, WILL, to 66777, and they'll get in touch with you. Well, it will be this morning after 11 o'clock, though. They won't ring you early if you've been up late watching the show with us tonight. So just text the word WILL to 66777, and you're securing the deals by making this contact. You're starting that process, and if you've put that process off time and time again, or you've just not got round to it, you've just forgotten to get round to it, it's so important. It makes such a difference.
Life is so busy, isn't it? I think we do put things off, and the sad thing is, if something happens and we don't know what's around the corner, it's never too early. You think, oh, I won't need a will till I'm old, but we don't know what's around the corner. And Sean and myself been together 33, 34 years, have a house together, have worked together, have been constantly together for all that time. But actually, we didn't realise if one of us passed away, we're not entitled to each other's money, which it's crazy, but actually that is the law.
Without a will.
So you can't presume that what you want to happen, even if you've told everybody, it's not going to happen, because that is not the law. So to make a will, you might think, oh, I bet it's expensive, that's why you have to do it. Honestly, have a look at the prices. And if you think it's complicated and frightening, which I'm scared of everything really, but anything to do with law, I'm like that. I'm not going to know the right, I'm going to ask a silly question. The team are amazing. You never feel a fool, no question is silly, and they'll hold your hand, and they'll make it so easy, and you'll just have this weight lifted off your shoulders, this peace of mind that actually what I want to happen is going to happen.
And you can update it as well. It doesn't have to be, if your circumstances change. Helen will tell us again about what we can do if we want to change anything. The deal for your will is on the screen there. In fact, let's show you all the deals that we've got for you. If you want to go for the family and estate will, £89 is the ShopOnTV offer price, with a recommended price of £180. You can split that cost across 4 interest-free payments, just £22.25 on your first of 4 payments. We are going to go more into the lasting power of attorney. That's available as well.
That is so important. That's more for when you're alive, and making sure that if you do fall poorly, perhaps you have a terrible accident and you need someone to look after you and your affairs, that actually the person you want to look after you and your affairs is doing exactly that. We only set that up for Mum a couple of years ago with, of course, Simpler Law. We hadn't worked with them. I hadn't done a show with them. We chose Simpler Law because we saw a show like this, and they made it so easy. And I was petrified, because I thought, I'd never done anything like this. We always left all these sort of things to Dad. And so it was so simple. And the price is fabulous at £179. And there are 2 different lasting powers of attorney. We'll talk you through them both. But of course, with your discount from £325, and then you split that cost over 4 payments, £44.75 is the first of those 4 payments. And then you can do a joint, which is really good as well.
If you want to combine both the offers, Simpler Law have done us a great deal there as well. Suggested retail price of £505 comes down to £249, and if you want to spread the cost again, you've got that opportunity directly with Simpler Law, £62.25 on your first of 4 payments. Now, when it comes to writing a will, Helen, who would you say needs a will, and what are the first steps?
Everybody needs to get a will in place. I think all of us know that, really. I don't think there's ever, it's never too early, it's never too late, it's now is the time. If you're watching the show and you're thinking, yeah, I haven't got a will in place, now is the time to do it. So everyone needs to get a will. As for what you need to do, you just need to make contact. It's that simple. This morning is not about getting all the information out, going up in the loft and digging out all those kind of things.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of that.
No, trying to think about, where's that bank account? Think about all that later. today is just about securing the deal and deciding I'm going to do something really positive. I've put it off long enough. I'm going to take that first step, and that's what today is all about. You know, it's for whatever reason that you've thought about it and not gone ahead with it before. You know, we do these shows to try and reach as many people as possible. That's one of our objectives as a legal services provider, because we want to make these products available to everybody. You know, so we do the shows to get the information out there, because there is a lot of kind of a lack of knowledge, I think, as to what happens if you haven't got a will in place. So educating people and helping them understand how it fits their specific circumstances as well, I think, is really important. But you don't have to worry about anything today. You know, the first step is pick up the phone, speak to the client care team. What will then happen is that we will then send you some information to think about, and we'll call you back and make an appointment to go through your will instructions, and that will be done in your own home over the phone. So when you've got your appointment, you can make yourself a cup of tea, you can sit down, you'll have had all the information, and our client care team will have a chat with you and ask all the questions. That's how the process will work.
So there's no pressure, is there? That's what I loved about it. It's under your own steam. It's, you know, it's going to happen. No one's jumping on the phone and surprising you.
It's a bit like you're talking to a friend.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so easy. And Ian, what happens if you haven't got a valid will in place?
That's when it gets interesting. That's Helen's alluded, well, more than alluded to, the fact that if you pass away without a will, your estate's going to be distributed in accordance with something called the rules of intestacy. Now, these rules were put in place in 1925, so society was a little bit different.
Not quite current then.
not particularly current, no. But you're absolutely right. You know, we're not shocked today if we speak to clients that might be on their second or third relationship. We're not shocked if those clients have children from previous relationships. That is not an unusual scenario today. 1925, I dare say it was. But unfortunately, as we've already spoken about, how can one set of rules be suitable for millions of individuals?
No.
But there has to be a mechanism for dealing with people's estate, and unfortunately that's it. So when people haven't made a will, most of them unconsciously are making a second decision to accept a government will. And when you sit down and explain what that will do, it's very, very rare, if ever, that it will do what they want them to do. In fact, I'll go as far as to say that we've never drafted a will that mirrors the rules of intestacy. That's because they're just not bespoke. There's nothing personal about it at all. If I can indulge myself 1 second, there's a story that always sticks with me that was on the BBC many years ago when they were promoting wills. And there was a mother on there with a surviving brother. Basically, this mother had lost a son unexpectedly, and he was only in his 40s. The story goes that when he was born, his dad left. So for whatever reason, his dad left and was never seen from again. And unfortunately, when this guy died, he'd never married, he'd never had children himself, he died unexpectedly, he passed away without a will, so he died intestate. Now, the first question that's asked of the person that's passed away under the rules of intestacy is, are you married or in a civil partnership, or were you married in a civil partnership? The answer for this gentleman was no. The next question then goes on, do you have children? The answer again was no. The third question was, do you have parents? The answer was yes. And the rules of intestacy stated that his parents were to basically share in his estate equally.
Gosh.
So his mom, who's lost a son, so that's bad enough, now has to track down her ex-husband, who she's not seen for decades, and say, oh, by the way, you're entitled to half of our son's estate, which any logical, like-minded person goes, that's not right, that's not fair. But that doesn't come into it. Unfortunately, the law says that's what's going to happen. Now, we'll never know why that gentleman didn't make a will. We'll never know, did he understand that was going to happen, but I'll do it next week or I'll do it next year.
Yep.
We'll never, ever know why he didn't do it. But that's, again, just to repeat what Helen said, why we do these shows. Because there'll be people watching this now that might be blissfully unaware that something horrible could happen when they pass away. Don't assume everything's going to be okay, because unfortunately, the vast majority of the time, it's not. The only way to guarantee that what you want to happen is going to happen is to make a will.
Just have it in place.
Yeah, so that's a long-winded answer to your question, really.
Makes sense.
The rules of intestacy are devastating.
It makes sense why it is so important, and what you would presume is going to happen, as you saw there on the screen, it really doesn't happen. And we were saying that obviously we presumed that we would get each other's, but
as
we're
partners,
not, but as partners living together, but we don't.
Yeah.
What happens in a situation where there's children involved, and the terrible thing where two partners or husband and wife die.
Yeah. None of us want to think that we're not going to be around to see our children grow up, but sadly it does happen. Within a will, you can do something called appointing guardians for your children. So that means that if something did happen to you while your children are under the age of 18, you can decide who's going to look after them. So everyone will have very strong feelings about who they want to bring up their children if they're not around. It might be family members, it might be friends, it might be people who are in the right area to keep your children with their friends at school, for whatever reason. If you don't have a will and you don't appoint guardians, you're basically leaving it to your family to decide. So the people will step forward and say, yeah, I'll look after the children. It might not be the people that you would have chosen. There might be people from different sides of the family that are then arguing, saying, no, they definitely would have wanted us to have the children.
Gosh.
And you imagine that the children are in the middle of all this.
And everything's so heightened, isn't it? At that
Exactly,
time?
yeah.
So emotions are running high.
Yeah.
It's a little bit worse than, sorry Helen, it's a little bit worse than that, because then effectively someone who's never met you, never met your children, never met your family, they're going to make that decision for you because you're not here. And you didn't make it while you were here. No. So it's that that's how important this can be.
Yeah,
you know,
it goes back to the control thing, doesn't it?
100%.
It's you deciding what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, the very worst case scenario, and fortunately it doesn't happen very often, but quite often if the family are falling out and nothing can be decided, the children could end up being taken into temporary care. I mean, it is really rare, but why would you take the risk? No. If you've got children under the age of 18, you can put this right so easily just by writing a will and putting a guardianship appointment within the will. Why would you take the risk and not do it?
I think most parents know who they would want the children brought up by.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to have godparents, because there's a lot of people who think, well, they've got godparents, so that it'll automatically go to godparents. That's not a legal thing, not at all.
Either.
No, and having a pint with your best mate and going, if the worst happened to me, you'd look after my kids, wouldn't you? Yeah, of course I would. Obviously, there's nothing legally binding. No. If any parent knows that when you sign a document from school, it's asking, are you the parent or are you the guardian? That's the legal status, not are you the best mate in the pub, unfortunately. So, again, it's just part of this selfless thing. As a parent, you've got to surely want to know that your children are going to the people that you want them to go to. We all know there's members of a family or friends that you wouldn't want your kids to go to.
Absolutely.
So it's really important to make that decision. That's just one of the tiny elements that you can achieve through making your own will. So again, if you're thinking about it, please don't put it off. Just get in touch with us today.
And when it comes to writing a will with simpler law, why should they choose simpler law? There's things like templates out there as well, aren't there? That you can, I don't know.
Oh, I love those, Sean, yeah.
I bet you do. Tell me why not to use those.
Yeah.
It's really dangerous. I've never really understood in the 20 plus years I've been doing this, why if I get a toothache, I'm not going to try and fix that myself. I'm going to go to a professional. I'm going to phone a dentist and say, I've got a problem, will you help me with it? If my car breaks down, I'm going to find a mechanic that specialises in that car and is going to fix it. If I want to put my affairs in order and I want to put my estate planning in place, I'm going to buy a piece of paper and hope that I can do it myself. I've never understood it. The risk is massive, because if you use a company like ours, you're going to deal with someone that deals with this every single day, and it's their job. They are qualified, they are experienced, they've seen every scenario, and we're there to give you that advice. And we can give you that advice. And the advice that we give you in the documents that we produce are fully insured. So if we get it wrong, and touch wood we never have, but if we get it wrong, you and your family are covered. If you do it yourself, there is no recourse. You can't sue yourself if you get it wrong. And to be honest, if you're not trained in this area, how do you know that you are writing it correctly? You can't possibly, because you can't give yourself that advice. So when we sit down with our clients, we have a duty of care. We get to know our client. You made a point, Haley, it's quite right. We become friends for that period of time. We need to know about you. We need to know about your family so that we can give you the best advice. The more you tell us, the better we can advise you. But at the end of the day, whether you take our advice is up to you. You'll take all of it, you might take some of it, you might take none of it, but then at least you've made a fully informed decision. You will always get the document that you want. It will be your will at the end of the day. As we've just explained, having a will is 1 billion times better than dying intestate, because it's your document, it's your wishes. What you want to happen will happen. But the only way that can happen, you've got to get in touch with us. We can't telepathically deal with it. So if you don't want to speak to us tonight, text the word will to 66777. The client care team are there right now. All you have to do is secure this deal. And I'd implore anybody to do it this morning, because even if you think, well, I might do it tomorrow, I'll do it. Life does get in the way.
That is
Yeah, life gets
tomorrow
in the way.
comes, tomorrow's really busy, you haven't done it, and it's gone, hasn't it? The time has gone.
And do you know what? I've said it before and I'll say it a lot this morning, but no one ever regrets doing this.
No.
You can't regret planning for your family, but unfortunately your family can regret that you didn't do that, and that's what we're trying to avoid by doing these shows. So don't hesitate. If you're thinking of doing it, text us, go through the website or pick up the phone.
Let's remind everyone how easy it is to get in touch, actually. You can either go through our website, which is really simple in itself. You go to shopontv.co.uk. On our homepage, there'll be a little banner that says Simpler Law. There it is right there. You click on there and it takes you through to the offers. The offers are all affordable, whether we're talking about wills or lasting power of attorney.
It's going to be really expensive. It truly isn't. And we've got incredible deals that are exclusive with us as well. Scroll down, and then all you need to fill in then is your name, your phone number, your email. There's a couple of quick, easy questions, and then just submit that. Or you can, of course, call. And if you want to call, it's very simple to do that as well. So you can see there on the phones 0333 600 2600. If you call, there's a team waiting to speak to you. You might have to wait a few moments, but they will get to you as soon as they possibly can. They're there till 3 a.m. this morning. And again, all you're doing tonight is you're securing the deals. You don't need any information. You don't need to go up in the roof and find bits and pieces of paper and discover where all your banks are. It's just to actually secure the deals today. You can go to Simpler Law's website as well, or like we've been saying, text is a great idea.
Yeah, if you just text the word will, as we've said, to 66777, the team will get back in touch with you tomorrow, which is brilliant, isn't it?
This morning after 11 a.m. We seem to we're sort of in the midst, aren't we, of evening and morning now, but they'll get in touch this morning after 11 a.m. because they know you've been up with us late. Deal-wise, the deals are incredible. Because I know for us, we probably, not that it would put us off, because we just didn't think we really needed a will until we realised we did. We're not married, we've been together all these years, but our money wouldn't pass to each other if something happened to one of us. But we did expect it to be really expensive. £180 would have happily paid that. £89 is your price for your family estate will. And this is your final gift to your loved ones, to make sure your loved ones get what you want them to get, and the ones that you don't want to get things don't get. It's making sure what you want to happen happens, and you can split that cost over 4 payments. 22.25 is the first of those 4 payments.
In a couple of moments we are going to talk about lasting power of attorney. The deal that we've got there for you, £325 is the suggested retail price, is down to £179, and if you want to spread the cost for interest-free payments, £44.75. Or if you want to combine the two together, and once we talk about it, I think a lot of you will want to do this. The will and the lasting power of attorney, well, it should be £505, it's down to £249, and with those interest-free payments, £62.25 on your first of 4 payments there.
It is. It's so well worth doing. And if you are the first of the 250 people that actually secure those deals this morning, you will get this incredible book, and everybody should have this book. This book is worth £25, and it actually allows you to fill in all the details that people will need if you do pass. Not hunting for pieces of paper and trying to find where your bank accounts are, but actually the world's changed and things are very technical now, even passwords for your tablets and your phones, so photos aren't lost.
Yeah, so you don't lose anything.
Things you wouldn't even think about, and it's all in one place.
Social media passwords, things like that, email, all your household bills, all the details. It could be online banking. Everything will be in that one place. It'll make life so much easier. First 250 people who make that appointment with us, however way you get in touch, will get that, won't they?
And there are billions of pounds that are lost because people don't know the money's there, and that book will make sure that your family know exactly where all your money and all your information is. It's fantastic, and the first 250 people that secure that deal this morning will get those, which is brilliant.
Now we are going to talk about lasting power of attorney for you if you've been hanging on for that. So Ian, we'll bring you in here. Let's start with, because I think a lot of people don't even know what lasting power of attorney is, do they?
No, that's a fair comment. Again, it comes back to there is a lack of knowledge, and again, this is something that isn't spoken about very much, and quite often only comes to light, again, unfortunately, when it's too late.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
So a lasting power of attorney, let me be really clear, it's not an insurance policy, but it can be viewed like one. So a lasting power of attorney is something that you make today whilst you have the capacity to do so, because you can only make a lasting power of attorney when you've got mental capacity. So unfortunately, if you've lost capacity through illness or through an accident, that's when it's too late. Those are the worst phone calls we get at our office. So the lasting power of attorney is a document that you set up when you can today, when you've got capacity to do so, and you choose someone that you trust who will effectively step into your shoes and make the decisions the way that you would make them if you hadn't lost capacity. Now, there's two types, which I know we're going to come on to. There's one that deals with your property and your financial affairs, money makes the world go round, and there's one that deals with health and welfare, which is a little bit more emotive. It's about how you're cared for. And they both have, obviously, merits, but for very, very different reasons. But that's essentially what those documents are. It's you appointing someone that you trust to basically look after you if you can't look after yourself. So we've talked about wills. There's an inevitability to a will being used. With a lasting power of attorney, truthfully, you want Murphy's Law to kick in. You want to have those documents and hope that your family's never needed to use them, because then you've had your health. But again, it comes back to, if you've got that crystal ball and you could see that life was going to throw you a curveball, you wouldn't hesitate to put this in place, because the problems that can occur for your loved ones if you lose capacity and don't have those documents, again, they're awful, they're catastrophic. At an already bad time, it makes it worse.
There's misconceptions about wills, but there is about lasting power of attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the same kind of thing, that people assume that everything will be okay. You know, if you're like a married couple, if one of you loses capacity to make your own decisions and deal with your own finances, there's this assumption that somehow the other one will be able to take over. I mean, you imagine now, at the moment, if you phone anyone up, any service provider, any financial provider, the first thing they say to you is, are you the account holder?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're like, well, no, I'm not.
And they won't speak to you.
No. And even if you are, then there's all the security things to get through. And, you know, unless you can pass all their security checks, they won't even talk to you. But somehow there's this assumption that if one of you is incapable of doing it through an illness or an accident, that somehow something kicks in and the other one will be able to act. Well, actually, the law sees it completely opposite. This person is now a vulnerable person, and their assets must be protected, so nobody's having access to them unless they've got a legal document that allows them to do so. So I think it again comes back to, well, I think it'll all be okay. You know, there must be a way that this happens. And I think that's when we're talking to people who have family members who've lost capacity, there's almost a disbelief, like, well, this can't be, there must be something that kicks in that allows us to do this. And actually, there is, and we'll talk about that, but actually if you haven't got a power of attorney in place,
the process is completely different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, again, most people have heard of a will. Most people understand what a will does. I think there's a bit more of a lack of understanding about powers of attorney and what they do and how vital and important they are.
I think unless you've had that illness in your family,
yes,
things like
you're quite
Andy's,
unaware of it.
Sorry, I'm calling you Andy
It's
again.
all right. I'll answer to anything, Hayley.
Ian said that it is. It's when it's too late. It's when you've been in the situation.
Yeah.
And you discover that if you had that, it would have been so much calmer and easier. And I think for anyone that hasn't heard of it, Ian, could you explain a little bit more what lasting power of attorney is?
Yeah, so essentially, my wife and I have got lasting powers of attorney. So if I didn't throw the quilt back this morning, I've named Jeannie as my attorney. For all intents and purposes, she becomes me in the eyes of the institutions that I deal with.
Right.
Because just to pick up on what Helen said, if you think about it logically, you can't walk into the bank today without your wife knowing, or your husband for that matter, or your partner, and access their bank account. It's impossible.
No, you can't.
So think about it logically. If your partner or spouse is now incapacitated, so they're now designated vulnerable, why would that situation change? You can't now, if you walked in now and said, oh, I know you wouldn't let me have the money yesterday because my wife was okay. Sadly, my wife's just being diagnosed with dementia, so can I access the money now, please? The answer is always going to be no. And Helen's right, the disbelief, unfortunately, is that, well, why isn't there a mechanism for this? Well, the truth is, there is, but it's a lasting power of attorney. But you have to go and do that yourself. So it's a really oversimplistic view of what I've just given, but Jeannie would become me in the eyes of all the institutions I deal with. So today I've chosen someone that I trust to basically look after me the way that I would look after myself.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that while you've got the capacity to do it, unfortunately your family have got no option but to go a different route, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, which is not only incredibly expensive but incredibly time consuming. And again, all this is happening when something bad has already happened. If a loved one has been incapacitated through an illness or through an accident, that's already tragic. That's already awful.
Gosh, not half.
Most of us are being touched by dementia, unfortunately. Now, we're all living longer, so even if you've not got a direct connection to it, you know of someone that suffered with dementia. That is absolutely awful. And you're watching someone that you love deteriorate. You imagine having to deal with that and then having to deal with a court process. It's awful. And again, it can all be avoided with a quick phone call and 15 minutes of your time. And that's again why we do these shows. It's never going to happen to us. It's always going to happen to someone else.
It's just putting it in place, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Don't take the
risk.
risk.
What does happen if you haven't got lasting power of attorney?
Well, I would normally defer to Helen on this, but you're going to get me on my soapbox. But there's something that was set up called a court of protection. So someone you hope is the person that you would want to look after your affairs has to apply to the court of protection for what's called a deputyship order. Now, to start that process running, you've got to submit an application. There's a cost to that. That's £371. The court then might do an assessment fee, which is going to cost another £100. They might want a hearing to make sure that you are the right person. They don't automatically assume that a husband is the right person for the wife and the wife is the right person for the husband. They're there to protect the person that's lost capacity, so you have to jump through hoops. So even though the husband loves his wife, he's going to do absolutely right by her, he's got to jump through all these hoops to prove he's the right person. He's got to pay all these costs and go through all this process. So they might ask for a hearing to check he's the right person. That's going to cost £494. Then the court's going to slap on a supervision fee, which is an annual fee of £320. I think that can vary as well. Sometimes they ask you to put your own money down as a bond because they need to, honestly, and all of that can be avoided if today you say, do you know what, I want my husband, I want my son, I want my daughter.
You elect someone to be you as such.
Yeah, and again, talking about this morning, that isn't a decision you have to make now.
No.
The decision you have to make now is actually a lasting power of attorney sounds brilliant. I hope I never need to use it, but I think I need that.
Yeah.
And that's why you should phone the office, because without it, again, it's your loved ones that suffer.
Yeah.
Because they're not only dealing with whatever's sadly happened to you, they're now having to go through this court process. And worse than that, the time it takes is ridiculous. What's the lead time at the moment?
Oh gosh, it's at least 9 months. Yeah.
So you've got to wait 9 months for this process to unravel. Yeah,
And
it's
it's going to
awful.
cost you so much more money.
Absolutely.
Now, we saw there on those details, there's two different types of lasting power of attorney,
Yeah,
aren't there?
yeah, that's right. There's one called a property and affairs lasting power of attorney, and that I think is the one that most people kind of think about and they know about. So this is all about dealing with bank accounts and finances, even things like claiming benefits for somebody who's lost capacity, dealing with their tax affairs, managing their investments, perhaps selling their property to release capital to be able to look after them.
Yes.
Right.
All those kind of things. That's the property and affairs one. So I think most people kind of understand that that's all the practical day-to-day things, even like changing utility providers and things like that, anything financial. The second one is a health and welfare power of attorney, and that's more about that individual's care. So this is about what medical treatment they receive, making decisions about medical treatment, even down to things like where they live. So if they do need additional support and care, where are they going to stay? Who's going to provide that care? It can even be down to simple things like what social activities this person is involved with,
Really?
what food they're eating, what clothes they're wearing, where are they spending their time during the day, what activities are they taking part in? All those kind of things that actually, when you start to think about it, yes, the finance one is the one that most people have heard of and is logical to most people, but actually the health and welfare is such a personal thing. And to think that somebody you don't know could possibly make these decisions for you is really quite worrying.
Right.
You want someone that you know and love and trust and who knows you to be able to have that authority to make those decisions. And again, you need this power of attorney in place. You need to appoint these people while you're fit and well and able to do so. So it's not something that you should put off. People always think about, well, it relates to dementia, and actually that's an old person's disease, and so I've got lots of time to think about that. It's really not. dementia can affect people young, which is even more tragic. But there are so many other things that can happen.
My best friend was knocked down by a car, and she's still in a care home now, and that's 9 years later. So those things do happen, and you don't expect them to happen.
We all know life can be horrible.
Yeah.
It's human nature to hope that it happens to someone else, which is cruel when you think about it, but that's human nature.
Yeah.
But if life throws that curveball, all we can ever help our clients do is plan for the worst, but obviously then hope for the best.
That's it.
So the idea is you do this now, and then you put it to one side and hope that you never need to use them. But if life does throw you that curveball, you've done everything you can for your loved ones then.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we've got 2 great boys. We've done everything we possibly can, as you would expect. But I don't dwell on it.
No.
It was done in that moment. We think about it. We've got the guardianship sorted. We've looked after each other. We've made sure the boys are looked after. We've put everything in place that we can possibly put in place. Now it's all put to one side, and now we're just living our lives. Knowing that if life threw us a curveball, that we've covered everything that we can.
It's that peace of mind again, isn't it?
Honestly, the worst calls we get in the office is, oh, hi, it's Mrs. Smith. You did a will and lasting power of attorney for me and my husband last year. We've just found out that Mom's being diagnosed with dementia. Can you help us? And sadly, the only thing that we can help them with is a court protection application at that point. It's much nicer if when someone phones us up, said, oh, I think my mum might have dealt with you. It's like, yes, we've got the lasting power of attorney. How good is that? I'm sorry that you're having to use it, but the great news is there's one in place. Yeah, we spend money protecting all kinds of weird things. We'll pay money to protect our phone. We'll pay thousands of pounds, hundreds of pounds, for buildings and contents insurance that we've probably never claimed on. We have to insure our car. We'll pay for pet insurance. We'll do all this thing for these, gadgets in our hand and for pets, but we sometimes forget about ourselves directly and our loved ones. And as I said, I want to be clear, a lasting power of attorney is not an insurance policy, but it can certainly be viewed as one because it's a document you want to have and then just hope that your family never need to use it. But again, if you're thinking about it, I mean this in the nicest possible way, stop thinking and do, because again, no one regrets having this in place.
No.
Without a doubt. And it's not an insurance policy, like you say, and you've got to hope that you won't ever have to use it. That's the point.
Yeah.
But it's there in place if you need it. All you've got to do is get in touch. If you do have to use a power of attorney, I know because I went through it with my mum, it makes such a difference. It makes everything so much easier. And all those barriers that you come up against if you haven't got it.
And all the cost as well, which you might not have that money in place to even afford to pay for all that cost.
And it's not the person who's lost capacity who has to find that money, it's their family. And I know that there will be people watching the show who'll be thinking, I wonder if my mum and dad have got powers of attorney in place, because it's going to be me who's going to have to deal with it. It's going to be me that's going to have to find the money to deal with the court of protection if they haven't, or it's me that's going to have to go through this period of not being able to help and control the finances. So, it can have an impact on the family. So have the conversation, speak to your loved ones, make sure that they've all got these in place.
So do jot down the details if you are thinking, this is something that I think, again, we all need. We all need to think about this. You don't know what's around the corner. And we have got incredible deals today that are going to make it so affordable for you just to then switch off, relax, know that you've made sure that you've given everybody that final gift and that peace of mind that if something does happen, they're going to be okay. You've put everything in place, and you can start tonight by just making that first contact, and you've started that process. How many times have you thought about it and put it off, or you've just forgotten? You've just not got round to doing it. I forever write lists. Yes. Never actually do them, but forever write them. You do, you're quite good. You tick them off.
I'm a big fan of the lists.
I've got a phone full of lists, and there's about 2 ticks, but I'll get it.
Mine says things to do at the top. I just line through it and put procrastination list. I'll get round to it.
Yeah,
that's it. And you never do.
That's what we do.
No.
That's what we do. Let's show you the offers that we've got for you and how easy it is to get in touch. So not only do we have the lasting power of attorney, we have wills, and we also have a combination. Let's show you the will first of all. If you want to make a will with Simpler Law, all you've got to do is get in touch. It should be, even at £180, it's down to £89, the ShopOnTV offer price. 4 flexible payments, interest-free payments if you like, at £22.25 on your first of 4 payments if you want to go for the will offer.
and then your lasting power of attorney. And I only set this up with for Mum just a couple of years ago, and it was so simple to do. I'm petrified of anything like this, anything to do with law, or I'm just like, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm not going to. I'll ask the silliest question. Honestly, the team are amazing, and no question is too silly. They just put you at ease, and actually, you find you don't really need to ask many questions because they sort of talk and chat to you and get everything out of you so easily. So everything just runs so smoothly. Should be £325. I would have paid that. £179 is your deal with ShopOnTV, and you have got 4 pay. You can split that cost over 4 interest-free payments at £44.75. I personally did both lasting powers of attorney, and peace of mind, weight off your shoulders, completely forgotten about it now. It's all put away, but you know it's there. Once it's done, and then we can just get on with our lives and enjoy them. And actually, a really good deal is getting the two together, the will and the lasting power.
That's the best offer, if you like, monetary-wise. If you want to go for the will and the lasting power of attorney, you've got everything covered. £249 is the ShopOnTV price, and if you want to spread the cost with those interest-free payments, £62.25. Don't forget, the first 250 people who get in touch will get this fabulous book, which is genius, really, isn't it? This is a book where you'll jot down information for everything in your life. So when you do lose someone and you have to put their affairs in order, you don't know where anything is, do you? It could be here in the house, in the bedroom, in the living room, in the cabinet in the bedroom.
And it's personal things as well, like passwords to your phone. It could be for photos to your laptop. All those photos are lost because you can't get into your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister's actual phone. It's all in there. But also it could be bank accounts that you've got no idea that they're there.
They're even there.
Ian, so much money is lost, isn't it? Because this information, I think everybody should have to have this book and fill it in, because there's money hovering in nowhere that should be somebody.
Billions of pounds. When we were putting this together, which was born out of our estate administration team, in truth, because we know they have to gather in the deceased assets. So it was, where are you looking for this information? What kind of information would help to have at hand? And that's how this book was born. But in doing our research and putting it together, we discovered there's £5 billion of unclaimed pension pots. Yeah, billion. There's £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies because the document was never found. There's £850 million just sat in UK banks, again, which should be with loved ones, but is just sat in the banks because it's those
People
accounts.
Don't know those accounts are there.
No, I set up an account when I was 18, for my first wage to go in. And I didn't stay with that bank, and I set up a really daft little standing order, which is still going in there today. So it's like every now and then I go, I've not looked at that, and there's next to nothing going in it. But I think to myself, there's a passbook stuck in a wardrobe somewhere. Right. I envisage that there's lots of people with things like that, and that's how it gets missed. Because no one would know about that unless it really rifled through my statement and saw this little bit of money going there and thought, what was that?
Yeah.
So a lot of things are online now as well. A lot of people don't even get bank statements anymore.
No, that's
it's all done digitally.
Yeah.
So how would anyone ever know unless it's dropping through the door? People are not going to know about it.
Not aware of it.
Having this book, okay, and that's why we've given it away for the first 250 people that secure the deal today. But having this book and taking the time just to fill it out again is just another part of the selfless act. You're just making life easier for the people that you're leaving behind.
And I think what you said, it's really cathartic. When you fill that in, and then you put it to one side, it's done, don't you?
Oh, when you've listened to as many consultations as we have, they always end the same way. Thank you, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
No one ever gets to the end of a consultation and goes, oh, I wish I'd not bothered. Because there's usually something quite interesting come out. And, there's a lot of clients that we deal with, and I think Helen mentioned this earlier, that know what they want and it just goes dead straightforward. There's a lot of clients who think the situation is going to be really, really complicated and they worry about doing it, but I assure you it won't be complicated for us. Phoners will help simplify it for you. The ones that we're really scared about are the clients who go, my situation's simple.
And it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
10 minutes into the conversation, the member of the client care team's got their head in the hands going, but we know that we can help them.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, is it's selfless. And at the end of it, it is a cathartic process, Sean. You're quite right, because you've gone, I've done something amazing here. But you've done something amazing for your family.
Yeah,
that's the selfless part of it.
And it's completely bespoke to that individual, isn't it?
And that's the whole point. If you don't do this, there's nothing you're not controlling anything if you're incapacitated without a lasting power of attorney. And you're certainly not controlling anything if you pass away and allow your estate to be distributed according to the rules of intestacy, which takes no account of your family situation at all. No. At all. So the only way to do this and the only way to control what you want to happen is to pick up the phone and ask us to help you sort it out.
Yeah, we'll show everybody how easy it is to get in touch as well, because there are several different ways for you to get in touch, and you're just starting that process. That's what I love about it.
It is. It's that first step to actually getting this sorted, something you've been probably putting off forever. You can either go onto the actual website, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV, and they will get in touch this morning, or you can jump onto the phones, and the team is there until 3 a.m. There's not going to be loads of questions. You are just securing the deal that we've got here on Shop on TV this morning, and that's 0333 600 2600. But what the majority of people have been doing have been actually texting.
Yeah, that's right. If you text the word will to 66777, the team will get in touch with you after 11 o'clock this morning, so you don't have to worry about them waking you up really early. Just text the word will, W-I-L-L, to 66777, and the team from Simpler Law, the customer care team, will get in touch with you today after 11 o'clock. I always say tomorrow.
We're always like tomorrow. You feel like we're in the evening now, but we're not the morning. It's morning now. It's what time is it? We're coming up to 20 to 2 in the morning, so they'll get in touch after 11 because they know you've been up late with us. You can go onto our website as well, shopontv.co.uk, and what you'll find is there's a banner on the first page, on the home page. You click onto that. That's a Simpler Law banner. That'll take you through to the Simpler Law website. You'll see the deals. They're right there, and all you do then is scroll down. And again, everything is really simple, especially this evening. It's just that first step, your details, your name, phone number, your email, a couple of really easy questions, and then you just submit. And then again, they will be in touch with you to make sure that you can set up the deal, and also, of course, so you can set up the appointment. And it's really nice because they do, explain everything that you need to know and just make everything so simple.
There's no pressure.
Whether you're going for the will or whether you're going for the lasting power of attorney, it's so easy. It's something that does petrify me. I really do. Think things to do with law and things are just, I know, am I going to ask
it's out of your comfort
silly
zone,
question, Are they going to think, well, why did she ask that? But you don't feel like that ever. You could, whatever you feel you need to ask. But actually, they're so good at just chatting with you and getting the information that they need that really you cover everything without even realising. It's a bit like us all chatting today.
It's exactly what it's like.
Sort of situation.
It's a peace of mind. Everything can be put into place. And we're going to go back to wills now. And Helen, let's go back to the misconceptions when it comes to wills, because I think a lot of people have different ideas to reality, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely right. I think a lot of the most common ones we hear relate to what happens if you pass away without a will in place and how that actually impacts everybody and their personal circumstances. And one of the biggest ones that we've talked about during the show this morning is something that people assume is a common law spouse. And they think that if people have been together for a number of years, especially if they've got children together or own property together, that there's this legal relationship that's been created. And actually, if one of those partners was to pass away without a will, the other one is not entitled to receive anything from their estate at all.
And that's exactly what we thought.
The law is very black and white. Either you're married or in a civil partnership, or you're not. And that's it. There's no grey area.
Been together 33, 34 years, surely.
Yeah.
That would see us as sort of being married, but it's not the case.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
You can understand why people have
Absolutely.
these assumptions, but the reality is really harsh. And I think I mentioned to you too that the great thing is you've understood that, and now you've fixed it, for want of a better description. The sad thing is there's millions of people out there who are unaware of it and therefore haven't fixed it. And it only becomes known when it's too late.
Yeah.
You imagine your loved one's just passed away, so that's horrific in itself. But now you've just learned that what you thought was going to happen, like, oh, at least I'll get his estate, and me and the kids will be fine. Oh, actually, that's not happened now. And people go, well, that can't be right. And it's like, the rules of intestacy aren't there to be fair. The rules of intestacy are a default. They're a backup, if you like.
What is that?
So the rules of intestacy are a set of rules that were put in place in 1925 when society was very, very different. But they're there so that there's a system for distributing your estate if you haven't made your own will. Like Helen said, with regards to the rules of intestacy, it's very black and white. You're either married or you're in civil partnership, or you're not. It's the same with a will. You've either got a will or you haven't.
Right.
So if you've got a valid will in place that you've done yourself, your estate will be distributed according to what you want to happen. So you've taken control. I think what a lot of people don't realise is by not making a will, there's a secondary decision happening. You're accepting the government will. And if you stop most people and ask them what the rules of intestacy or the government will, they understandably wouldn't know.
No.
And then when you tell them what's going to happen, that's when they realise, I don't want that.
No.
And unfortunately, those are quite often the calls we have to make. I'm sorry that such and such has passed away. This is now what's going to happen. And that's when the family go, but Mom told us that's not what she wanted, or she would have never allowed that to happen. And it's like, well, did she have a will? No, but she told us.
Told us, yeah.
And the number of people that think it's enough just to tell your loved ones, and unfortunately it isn't, because that doesn't do it. It needs to be a legally binding document. So again, if you're watching this morning and thinking, that's really important and I know that I want to get it sorted, don't sleep on it, because life will get in the way.
Yep.
There are much more interesting things to spend your money on, or you think there are, because you've not been through this process yet.
Yeah.
But this is fascinating because it's all about you. We've got testamentary freedom in the UK, so we should exercise it. You can decide what happens to your estate, but you can only do it if you make a will. So don't sleep on it. Send us a text. We'll phone you later this morning. The client care team are there now. They're that dedicated to this. They're there now. 0333 600 2600, or as you said, go through the website. But don't put it off, because honestly, you'll do something amazing for yourself, but you'll do something absolutely incredible for your loved ones. It's a genuinely selfless thing that you're doing. And it's a very, very tiny amount of money and a very tiny amount of your time that you have to give up to do something absolutely amazing. But you won't know that unless you speak to us.
It is your final gift.
Total sense, doesn't it? When you sit and talk about it, and that's something we don't do. Like you said, we don't sit and talk about death and what's going to happen after we've gone.
Can you imagine that? Go and get the wine, darling. Let's talk about what happens when we die. We know that it's not. But
It's date night. No.
to be fair, after my last day night with my wife, she'd probably prefer me to talk about dying. But in all seriousness, because we don't discuss it, the problems and the issues don't come to light. And you know, we're not great in the UK about sharing our feelings and emotions and things like that.
And I think lots of us do presume. We do just presume that what we think is going to happen is going to happen.
And all that you can do it informally as well.
Yeah.
My sister told me a story. Her partner is an ultra-marathon runner. He goes off to different countries and runs for hundreds of miles, each to their own.
Sounds like me.
On his last trip, he wrote out his will and his wishes, and he signed them and passed them to my sister and said, if anything does happen to me while I'm away, here's my wishes. And she didn't think anything of it and put it away. And then the other day she found it when they were clearing out, and she said to him, look, what have you even done here? Because you've signed it, but it's not a proper will. It's not legally binding. You haven't got witnesses to it. It's not been done correctly. You know, I know someone who can sort this out for you, but people just assume that by talking to people and telling them that somehow that will create a legally binding relationship, and it just doesn't.
So if our viewers are watching right now at home and they want to get on board and start the process, what do they need to do?
They just need to speak to us. You know, pick up the phone or send us a text. I know that you sat there right now and your phone is right next to you. It's on the sofa, it's in your hand. Yeah. Send us a text. You know, if you're thinking, yeah, they're absolutely right, I really need to get around to doing this, text the word will, send it to 66777, and that's all you need to do, and then we'll contact you. That's your first step. That's the hardest thing. That's the most difficult thing. From there, we will hold your hand through the whole process. You won't even have to really think about it, because we'll guide you through it every single step of the way.
And that's what we were blown away by, the fact there was no pressure, there was no pushiness.
No,
you know, it's just it's like that holding hand moment.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do wrong, is there?
Yeah.
No, it's your loved ones. It's your estate. You know, in the nicest possible way. We can only do what you tell us to do. We're there to guide you and give you advice, which of course we will do. But ultimately, it's your will. It's your document. We will only draft your document for you when you're 100% happy with the instructions you've given us, and you're equally as happy with the advice that we've given you, whether you take that advice or not. But at the end of it, you get your document, which are your wishes. And that's massive. And honestly, sometimes you want to bring people to our estate administration department and show the stark contrast of someone that's passed away without planning and what problems that can create, and someone that's passed away that has planned. Now, I'll say again, it doesn't diminish the bereavement. It doesn't make that any easier. But if that person has planned, that selfless act has meant that that situation is now not going to get any worse. Even down to the family knowing, oh, she wanted to be cremated. She did want organ donation. I mean, that would have happened before, but you know,
it's what they wanted.
Yeah, this is what they wanted. There's no ambiguity. You know, even stopping like daughters fighting over a wedding ring or an engagement ring. Really, things that you think are quite simple whilst you're alive become heightened when you've passed away, because also people forget that their influence has gone. When they've passed away, their influence has gone. So we hear a lot, oh, our family are great, everything's fine. And we're not casting aspersions, but at the point of a bereavement,
it can change.
And money's involved, and their influence has gone, that's when you see it can be catastrophic. And you can stop all of that from happening. But more importantly, it's about taking control. I've worked hard for everything that I've got. My colleagues would argue differently. But generally, I've worked hard for everything that I've got, and I want to make sure that it's going to where I want it to go and that no one else is going to dictate that. Certainly not a set of rules from 1925. So the way that I'm going to make sure that everything I've worked hard for goes to where I want it is I make a will. So again, don't put it off. Please get in touch with us this morning and you won't regret that you did.
No, there'd be nothing worse, would there? And I don't know what happens to us when we do pass, but if you're looking down and what you wanted to happen isn't happening, your family's falling out, and people that you didn't want to get things are getting things. The loved ones that really looked after you and you wanted to give to aren't getting things. There'd be nothing worse, would there? But that's what can happen if you haven't got a will. What you think is going to happen actually doesn't. And talking to Ian and Helen, you really do, it makes me think everybody should have a will. Because whether you're a single person on your own, whether you have got children, whether you're a couple living together, whatever you're thinking is going to happen when you die actually doesn't, and you'd be devastated.
There are reasons for everyone watching now to have a will, aren't there?
Well, just a few scenarios you gave there. How can one set of rules possibly fit everybody's circumstances?
No, that's it.
That's why you need your own bespoke document. So it's unique to your situation, unique to your family, and will do what you want it to do. We have to take you to a dark place for 2 minutes. You know, if the worst happened yesterday, what would you want to see happen? And then we make that happen. And it's very, very rare that someone says, oh, actually, when I pass away, I want it to be exactly as per the rules of intestacy. I don't even want to know who's going to step forward and deal with it. No one's ever said that to us, ever.
No.
You know, it is literally, it's a default position that unfortunately has to exist, but you don't want to die intestate and your family don't want you to die intestate. So please make a will.
And tonight you've got that opportunity at such an affordable price. The other great thing is the first 250 people who make the appointment, who start that process, will get this book. And this is brilliant because it's putting everything in place if you pass away.
It's called What Your Family Should Know, and in here is everything that your family should know. And it's the things you'd perhaps think about, but perhaps not all the bank accounts you've had over the years you've got written down somewhere, and they're probably all the information is in different places in your house, so it's all in one book. But it's also things like passwords for your phone or your iPad. So because we store
all your social media
so much
accounts.
My mum's sometimes like, get off that phone. I'm like, I'm working. We do so much with our phones. We're not always playing on our phones. Our phone is our work. It's your photo album, isn't it? It's all your memories. And if someone else can't get into that phone because they don't know your password, all of that is completely lost.
This is great, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a point of contact for everything if you've gone.
Yeah, it's part of the cathartic and selfless process, to be honest with you. But, you know, you get that book, you sit down, you have a cup of coffee and you just take stock of what you've got. And it just helps at the point of need because, you know, and it helps you take stock of everything that you've got as well. But ultimately, when you've passed away, then it's really easy to access everything that you've got and make sure that nothing is lost. Because I think we've mentioned already a few times, but there are billions of pounds in institutions that should be with your loved ones that aren't because they've not been found.
And it is billions, isn't it?
It's billions, yeah. There's £5 billion of unclaimed pension pots, £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies, and £850 million sat in UK banks. Wow. And it's because that hasn't been found. And, you know, these institutions aren't necessarily going to go, oh, by the way, we've got this money, does anyone know where it should be? You know, you've physically got to go out there and find it and claim it. So it's a really important part of the process. And, you know, and again, that's part of the reason we're giving 250 away for the for the first people that secure
everybody
this.
should have that book.
Oh, it's great. It got a really, really good response when we launched it. Really good response because it resonated with people. It's like, oh yeah, I've got this there, and you know, my wife laughs at me because it's not a very nice term, but I have a death box in the top of the wardrobe because I'm a geek and this is what I do. She knows that everything is in that box. You know, that's where you go to.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is basically a version of this.
Book,
yeah. That's actually a prettier version. Well, I've got scraps of paper on. But there are policies in there, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Because again, it's just part of the selfless process.
But most of us will have those everywhere, won't we?
Yeah.
All over the house.
Yeah.
Do you know, a couple of reasons that people put off making a will can be they think it's going to be complicated, and some people think it's going to be morbid. It's actually quite the opposite. You know, you're doing this whilst you're alive, and you're doing something really, really positive, actually. You know. So the thing is, we can only do that positive thing for you if you get in touch with us. So give us that opportunity and you won't regret that you did.
And all the things that might have put you off in the past about making a will are addressed straight away. For me, it would be price. I would have thought, oh, hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
For me, I'd think it was really complicated, and I wouldn't understand, and I'd
worried about doing it wrong.
Wrong because I do everything wrong. So that's what. Yeah, and honestly, Simple Law just make it so. They make it simple.
Yep.
They make it so easy. You never feel a fool. No question is the wrong question, and they do. It sounds daft, but they do very much become your friend because they want to make sure that they get all the right and correct information from you. So what you want to happen is going to happen, and without a will, it honestly will not. And that's the only reason we made one, only really recently, because we just presumed. We've been together 34 years. We live together. We've worked together virtually all those years as well. Our life has been together. So why, if something happened to one of us, why would it not go to the other one? We've been together forever. But that's not the case at all. And you'll be devastated to see what you've worked hard for, or what you treasured, or what you loved, or that bit of jewellery went to the wrong person, or even worse, went to the person you really didn't want to have it. Yeah. Just the worst.
Yeah, and the offers that we've got for you, as I say, price-wise, spectacular really for what you're getting, making everything so accessible with these prices, and you can even split the cost interest-free. So let's start off. If you want to write the will, the family and estate will, as I say, the suggested retail price of £180 comes down to £89 on the ShopOnTV offer price. We've then got 4 interest-free payments available for you, £22.25 on your first of 4 payments if you want to go for a will. Then we go to the lasting power of attorney. Again, we will go back to this a little bit later in the show. If you're not quite sure what the lasting power of attorney is, we'll explain it as we go through the show. But if you want to go for that, it should be £325 on a suggested retail price. That comes down to £179.
And that is so important.
So important. There are 2 different types, aren't they?
And both of them, I think, are as important as each other, but we will run through them. But that is what happens to you whilst you're still alive. If something terrible happened, if perhaps you were involved in a serious accident or got dementia or something and you couldn't be in charge of your affairs, it's who then is in charge of your affairs, who looks after you, who cares for you, or who says who looks after you, who says where you should be and what you like and what you like to eat, even down to those simple things. We'll run through the different types of lasting power of attorney. Personally, and I only did this a couple of years ago, we did both for Mum, and it's just that peace of mind that you know you're in control if the worst happens. We've put it away. I know where they are, and you just switch off. Then you know that it's all done and dusted. And if anything did happen, that you are in control, or the loved one you want to be in control is in control. And then the other deal, actually, the 2 together, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, if you want to combine the 2 and get the will and the lasting power of attorney, £505 is the suggested retail price at that, but £249 is our price tonight on ShopOnTV. Just got to get in touch. You've got 4 interest-free flexible payments, £62.25 if you want to go for both the will and the LPA. Remember, the first 250 people will also receive a free copy of What My Family Should Know, the book that we talked about, where you'll keep all your contact information, but things like your bills, how to get onto your tablet or your phone, your social media accounts, and then your contacts in there. Even your wishes can be written down in that book. The first 250 people who get in touch will receive a copy of that book.
That book is so good. If you're like me, I'm a little bit of a hoarder, but I keep everything. I've probably got every receipt since I was about 18. Every car policy. I've got drawers full, but you'd never find it. You'd
You know,
never
you
have
can
a
get
clue.
treatments for that kind of behaviour.
Yeah, I have.
We'll
honestly.
talk about that later.
I'm terrible. I've got everything and drawers full of things, but you'd never
Do we
find
need
it or
this,
know.
Hayley?
Yeah,
It's 25 years old, we need it.
that's it. But you have got all the information just in one place for a loved one to find really easily. So you are getting that, the first 250 people that just actually secure the deals tonight. That's all you're doing tonight.
Yeah, and there's easy ways to get in touch. Let's remind you of how to get in touch with Simpler Law right now. simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. That's directly to the Simpler Law website. You can phone, and the call centre's open right now. The team are in there right through till 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600 if you want to call right now. If they are really busy and they don't pick up, you can try again. Or if you want to speak to someone tomorrow rather than tonight, the best way to get in touch, I think, is to just text the word Will, WILL, to 66777, and they'll get in touch with you after 11 o'clock this morning.
Do whichever way is best for you. The team are great. Jump on the phone and speak to them. They're there till 3 a.m, so they're ready and waiting. But if you think, well, I'll wait till tomorrow, do the text. Whatever is right for you. Or you can go to our website, actually, and there's if you go onto our homepage, there's a little box that says Simpler Law. You click onto that. That takes you straight through then, and you see the deals that are there. And then you scroll down that page. So you've gone through to Simpler Law's webpage there. You put in your details, 3 easy questions, submit, and the job is done. You've taken that first step to give you, and I've said this so many times, give you that peace of mind. You're giving that final gift to your loved one.
Yeah.
This is your final present. And it would be the worst if you did pass and you hadn't got a will, and then everything goes wrong. All the things you wanted to happen
Nothing
don't happen.
happens
And
because it's not written down.
And that is the truth, Helen, isn't it? Because there's a lot of misconceptions about wills and things we presume will happen and actually really truly don't.
Yeah, and there's so many that have come out in the show this morning, but there are other things in addition to that. There are things that people wouldn't know if they don't have a conversation with us, and that's the important thing really. What we really want to do is for each and every person who's watching to get in touch with us so that we can have that conversation. I'll give you an example. We were speaking to a lady who'd been divorced and had got children, and she still owned a property with her former husband. And they owned it together as joint tenants. And she said, what I want to do is, I'm divorced, that was over years ago, so everything to go to my children. And what we did is we looked at the way she owned her property and said, actually, because of the way you own your property, did you realise that as soon as anything happens to you, that passes to the co-owner? It passes to your former husband. It won't pass via your will to the children. And she hadn't even considered that. So it's all these things outside the will that we can only find out about by having that conversation with you. So that's why it's so important to speak to you directly, learn about your circumstances. That's why we're going to be asking you lots of questions to get this information. But we can do all these kind of checks for you and make sure you just tell us, this is what I want to happen. And we can then look at everything and make sure that that's what happens. We can give you a fully advised service, and I think that's what's so important.
But that doesn't happen straight away, does it? When we get in touch, it's simply...
Not today.
Don't need
Not
anything.
today.
Don't
No,
need
2 minutes this
absolutely
morning,
not.
2 minutes to secure the deal.
Yeah.
You don't need to know anything at this point. It's this point, I think Hayley said it right, is the hardest step, is deciding I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry then after that. You've made the important decision is to start that ball rolling. But you certainly don't need to know anything this morning. I don't know anything. But you don't need to know who your executors are going to be.
No.
You don't need to think about attorneys if it's lasting power of attorney. You don't need to know the detail. You just need to know that you want to do it. And then we will literally hold your hand through the whole process. And as I've said before, you will only get the document that you want after you're 100% happy with what you've told us and you're 100% happy with what we've told you. but you'll always get your document at the end of the journey. And then we'll help make sure that it's all signed, witnessed and dated correctly and is going to be valid and work. As Helen said, it's a fully advised service, but it goes even beyond that. You're our client from today, but you're actually our client right up until the point of need, and we make sure that what you've got is correct all the way through that journey. And therefore make sure that it works when it's needed.
That's a great point that Ian just made there about right through to signing, whether it's a will or an LPA. When we did your mum's LPA,
It's doing it correct. This is the biggest
you
thing,
worry
isn't it?
about doing it wrong, don't you? But
Yeah,
your team,
the documents are alien to you because
Yeah.
you don't do it every day. You know, we can be quite complacent ourselves sometimes because it's like, oh, you just go to section 9 and section 10.
yeah, of course,
As if, but this is the first time we've seen this document. So we have signing guides, we have,
Which are brilliant.
we have a customer service team, we've even got signing videos on our
Yeah,
website,
yeah.
because it's not just about, even in this digital age now, these documents aren't valid until there's a wet signature on it, until it's been dated, signed and witnessed correctly, and we help with all of that. We make sure that it's not just about that first contact. So from you sending us a text or picking up the phone today, we will hold your hand until you've got the document that you want and you're happy with, and it's signed and in place and is going to work. That's the whole point of this. The number of times we've heard horror stories where someone's taken the time out to make a will. Sometimes they've done, you mentioned earlier, Sean, about templates and things like that,
yeah.
but they've never had them signed or witnessed. So they're in existence, so you know what the wishes are, which is arguably even worse because you can see in black and white what the wishes are, but none of that's now going to happen because the document's not valid. So that document's going to fail and you're back to the rules of intestacy. That in a way is worse than no will at all.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
If that makes sense.
You truly know what they wanted
So
isn't happening.
if you're thinking of doing this, use a company like us because we're going to do it right. We're insured, we're going to give you the best advice, and you're going to decide how much of that advice you take, but you're guaranteed to get the document that you want at the end of it that's going to be for you and you alone.
Yeah.
Not a set of rules that's designed to meet a million, well, how many UK adults are there? 50 million?
Yeah,
But
millions.
millions and millions and millions. How can one set of rules meet their needs? It can't. It's a default position. You don't want to die in a default position.
Now, you are specialists, aren't you, when
Yeah, I
it
was
comes
just
to
gonna say, why
will
pick you?
writing? So why pick the simpler law? Because
Yeah,
you
we've got
specialise.
a fully trained team that this is what they do every single day. You know, we don't deal with divorce law, we don't deal with boundary disputes or anything like that. We solely focus on estate planning and protecting your assets and making sure that we're producing documentation that does exactly that and what you want. But in addition to that, all the other reasons that you'd look for a legal services provider. So we're insured, so every document that we produce is fully insured. So if anything did go wrong, and we can say that it never has, but if it did go wrong, it would be insured, so there'd be some comeback for your family. We've got a 5-star Trustpilot rating that we're really proud of. So our clients are actually going on to Trustpilot and leaving us reviews and saying, yes, this company did a really good job for us. And I think that's really important to make sure, you know, but I think the best thing to look out for is people like yourselves who say, we've used this company, you know, we've been through the process and we know that it works and we know that it's appropriate and we know that they do a good job
make
for
it
us.
easy.
So.
That's because it is that wills, LPAs. They're all things that you're a little bit scared of, aren't you?
Definitely.
You're frightened of it.
Well, it's a legal process. Even the terminology
Yeah.
in the will, people say, why are wills written in such archaic terminology?
Yeah.
But it's because that's the way they have to be, because that's the way the court interpret them. So, like when we were talking about template wills, one of the biggest things that can go wrong is that people write it in normal language. And unfortunately, if you write it in normal language, it can often have a completely different meaning to the legal language.
It's a bit like misunderstanding a text, isn't it? You
Absolutely.
get a text and you think it's
Yeah.
offensive and actually it wasn't. It's just because it's written completely.
But it can have a totally different impact on the distribution of the estate, which, you know, can mean that something completely different happens that the person didn't want it to. So that's why, you know, you tell us in English what you want to happen and we'll make sure this document does it.
Well, we became aware of a gentleman that him and his wife had done the template will.
right.
And actually done it reasonably well in a fashion because they got it signed and witnessed correctly, so it was a valid document. But they understandably didn't know there's a first death and second death, which we take for granted when we use that language, because whenever you're dealing with a couple, one of them's going to die first, one of them's going to die second. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but they'd put cash gifts in their wills. But they'd written it so that this cash had to come out of their estate on first death, which wasn't their intention. It was clear when you spoke to them that And the way the estate was set up, that they wanted everything to go to each other after first death.
Right.
And then when the second one had died, then they wanted the cash gifts to come out,
Okay.
because then that would have meant the house being sold to meet those cash gifts. It wasn't written like that. And because it was written in both wills, if they'd have both passed away, all the cash would have gone to these beneficiaries. It was just, in the end, it was a mess because...
Terminology.
Yeah, just a lack of understanding. And I am a little bit critical of that, because this couple knew they needed a will and then thought, well, I can do it myself.
That's what you said. Tell the story again about the dentist.
Yeah,
and
'cause
you-
Well,
that really puts it in place.
well, it's true, isn't it? You know, I will turn to a professional for a lot of things, mainly because I'm useless. But
Us too.
But I always use the example of a dentist. You know, I don't think there's anyone out there that would go, well, I've got a problem with my teeth, I think I'll try and do this myself.
No.
It's just, no, I need to go to a dentist. You know, and we all saw in lockdown the number of attempted haircuts.
Not good.
And suddenly a lot of people had a lot more respect for hairdressers and for barbers, because guess what? They do it every single day.
Yeah.
They make it look easy.
Yeah.
So you go to a professional if you want a professional job. But this is arguably the most important thing that you do, because it's the last thing that you do.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, and I never will, why people risk either not doing it at all and thinking, oh, the rules of intestacy will be fine, because I promise you there won't be, or almost worse than that, going, well, I'll try and do it myself.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
Because unless you're qualified in this area, unless you've got the knowledge that we've got, you can't give yourself that advice.
No.
You come to someone like us, our work is insured, and we're going to give you a fully advised service. What you do with that advice is up to you, but then at least you know you've made a fully informed decision. You've got all the facts in front of you. We will say, well, you should do A, B, C, D, and E. And some will do it all, some will do some of it. Some will go, well, I understand what you're saying there, but actually, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. You'll always get the document that you want, but you can only do that if you get in touch with us.
Yep.
So if you're thinking about it, please don't put it off. Text us, we'll phone you later this morning, or the client care team are there. What I love about the client care team, sorry, I'm waffling now, but what I love about the client care team is the Trustpilot reviews have got nothing to do with Simpler Law.
It's the people.
What you talked about, the
Indeed.
relationship, their job is to know their client. If we
Yeah.
know the client, we can give them best advice. So we're not doing it because we're nosy, we're doing it because we want to understand you, we want to understand your family, we want to understand what you want to achieve. So the Trustpilot reviews are great. It'll say Charlotte was great, it'll say Kim was great,
Yes,
Jack
yeah.
was great, Kylie was great. It very rarely talks about Simple Law. It definitely never says Ian was great. But it's always about the consultant that you've dealt with, because they will take that time to understand what you want, what your family makeup is and what you want to achieve. You know, it's a really personal thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, you get a bespoke document. And that might be that everyone's inheriting the way that you want them to. More often than not, there's also everyone's inheriting apart from this one person.
Yeah.
Because that can be as important as making sure that the right people inherit. It can also be important that the right people don't inherit. And you can only do that by making a will.
And Simpler Law do make it just so simple. And you do, it's like you became our friends really for that time that we were.
It was all fake, Hayley.
It
Well,
was.
not you, obviously.
It was lovely. And it was, we felt so at ease just chatting and talking through everything. It just made it so easy.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
how it
because
should be.
But you don't think it's going to be like that?
No. No.
Foolishly. I don't know why. You think it's going
Well,
to
you-
be really
yeah.
complicated. It's going to be a little bit scary.
there can be a stuffiness around law, you know, there can be.
Yeah.
Formal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something that you don't know, so you're afraid of it.
Yeah.
We do all the formality in the background, if you like. Like Helen said, the terminology is correct. The number of times we get asked, what does Pasterpes mean? And I won't bore you, but you know, it's one of these terms that will appear in a will, and when we explain it, clients go, oh, right,
Yeah.
that's what it means.
Yeah.
But it means that the document's drafted correctly, but that stuffiness, for want of a better description, means that the document will work.
Yeah.
But we don't bore you with that. You tell us what you want to achieve, and we make sure that it works. And again, we can only do that if you get in touch with us.
And the nice thing is you are there for those questions. No question is a silly question. I'm always saying, no, I always sit there thinking, oh, I wish I could ask that, but I'm not going to, I feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to ask. It was completely the opposite with Simpler Law. We chatted away, and any question I felt I could just ask. It didn't matter if it was a bit of a daft question, and no question is daft, actually. If it's what you need to know, you need to ask it, and with Simpler Law, you feel you can ask it, because they very much do become your friends. And it's so important, so important. If you haven't made a will, and we foolishly haven't,
For 30 odd years.
what you think is going to happen truly
It
doesn't
wouldn't,
happen.
yeah.
whatever situation you're in. We're not married. We've been together for 30, 33, 34 years. And I presumed we've lived together, worked together for all of those years as well. Lived in each other's pockets for all those years. So surely...
Literally.
They're going to know that, you know, mine is Sean, Sean is mine. Not the case at all. Wouldn't be entitled to any of Sean. Sean would be entitled to any of mine. But even families where you've remarried, you've got children from different... It gets very complicated, and the law doesn't make sure the right people get the actual, you know, what you want, whether it's a ring that you love, whether it's your pet, whether it's your dog. Even though you know your family know what you want, it doesn't happen by law.
It's not in the will. It doesn't happen by law. It's as simple as that. Let's remind you of the offers and how to get in touch, because it's really, really easy.
And affordable.
And affordable, so affordable. 3 different offers available on the show, and tonight is about securing these offers for you. When you can call, you can text. We'll show you the details in a moment. But if you want to go for the will itself, £180 suggested retail price, £89, and that was the thing that put me off whenever I thought about it. I thought it's going to be really expensive.
You just presume it will be.
Yeah, it's not. If you want to spread the cost, £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments for the family estate and will. Then we've got lasting power of attorney on the show, and we are going to go into more detail if you missed us chatting about that earlier. Lasting power of attorney, £325 suggested retail price on that. Again, it's great. It's peace of mind with all of these items that we're talking about tonight. £179 is the ShopOnTV offer, and £44.75 if you want to split the cost over 4 interest-free payments. But the best value is to get both, isn't it?
It is. We've got the will and lasting power of attorney, and you can see it should be £505. £249 is your price. It goes over those 4 payments of £62.25. And if you are securing the deals, and that's all you're doing this morning, so if you get in touch with any which way, you are just securing those deals. We have a fabulous book, and 250 people of those people will get that book, and we will show you the book as well. But this is how to get in touch, because it's the easiest way for you. If you want to go onto the internet, it's right there, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. You can go through our website as well if you want to. So if you want to go onto ShopOnTV.co.uk, because you know our website, think, oh, I've forgotten what was the Simpler Law one. Just go onto ours. There it is, right in the middle. You can't miss it. Click onto that box. That will take you to Simpler Law's website. You've got all your deals there, and then all you do is you scroll down, and at the bottom you can fill in the simplest to fill in your name, phone number, email, and then a few, 3 easy questions, and then you just submit. So that's one way, so via email, or via the internet, or you can jump onto the phones. The team are amazing. Now, they're not going to ask you loads of questions tonight. You're not going to have to go up in the loft and find loads of information. You are just securing the deals today and making sure you get this book as well. So if you want to jump onto the phones, the team are there till 3 a.m. and they are fabulous. They can possibly answer a couple of questions, but then the main thing is just to secure the deal, and then you can ask all the questions and sort out all the information at a later date.
Let's pop the phone number back on the screen for you and show you that you can also text as well. So 0333 600 2600. If you want to speak to someone, give the team a call. They're in the call centre right now. It'll take a couple of minutes just to secure the offer. But if you don't want to speak to anyone right now and you want them to call you back, it'll be after 11 o'clock this morning. Just text the word WILL, WILL, to 66777, and they'll get back in touch with you. But you've secured the offer by simply doing that.
And they'll get back in touch after 11 o'clock this morning, because they know that you've been up late with us this morning, so they won't ring you early. So please, it's that first step. It's that first step to give you that peace of mind that what you want to happen is going to happen, because it won't if you haven't got a will, and it's so simple to sort out. And we will be going into lasting power of attorney as well, which is so important. But this is the book that you will get as well if you are the first 250 people. And if you miss out, so many people want to buy this book. It's £25, but you're getting it as a complimentary gift. for securing your deal this morning. This book's brilliant, isn't it?
It's basically where you keep all your information, so when you do pass away and people need to know where everything is, it's all in this book. It's not only your savings accounts, bonds and shares, it's things like the property that you own. It might be bank accounts and insurance policies that people don't know that you've got, but then it goes right through to things like passwords for your iPad or your tablet or your phone, so you can get onto all those photos that mean so much to you. All the details in one place. How much easier does that make it? And that goes to the first 250 people who secure those appointments.
I think we should get one of those at birth. I think that book is so
be mandatory.
important. We should have to have it, shouldn't we? So it just makes it so much easier, because we're already going through a trauma. You've lost a loved one. And if you're then trying to hunt for things and try and find things, it's all right there. And if you haven't written a will, there'll be nothing worse than, and I obviously don't know what happens to us after we pass, but if looking down to see how your family are and they're all fighting because what you wanted to happen, that they know you wanted to happen, isn't happening, and things you wanted to be given to a loved one is actually being given to somebody else that you didn't want to, and that's what will happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's... The law doesn't go by what you think and how you feel and what people know about you. It has to go by a set of rules that aren't bespoke to your family, aren't bespoke to you. So there's only you that can write your will and make sure who you love gets what you want.
Now, it's not only wills that we've got on the show, we've also got LPAs, lasting power of attorney. Let's just cover that quickly, Helen, if we can, because I think a lot of people wouldn't even know what a lasting power of attorney is.
That's right. Most people have heard of wills. They understand what they do. But a lasting power of attorney, I think if you've not come across circumstances where you might need one, you might not be sure what they do. But a lasting power of attorney is effectively a really powerful document that allows you, while you're fit and well, to appoint somebody to act if you're ever in a situation where you can't make decisions for yourself. So either through accident or illness, we hear a lot in the news about Alzheimer's and dementia because people are living longer now, that sadly more people are affected by those horrible diseases. But if you find yourself in a situation where you can't make decisions, your appointed attorney can then effectively step into your shoes and make those decisions for you. But you have to do it now. You have to create this power of attorney document while you're fit and well. Get it all signed up, get your attorneys all signed up and everything like that, and then put it to one side, because once it's done, it's there. And then if you ever need to use it, you have to register it with somewhere called the Office of the Public Guardian. So there's a registration process. Most people choose to just get the document in place and keep it stored somewhere securely. Some people choose to register it straight away, so it's done just in case they need it, but it's not necessary to do that.
Okay.
But the important thing is getting the document in place and doing it now while you've got the capacity to do so.
It makes such a difference, I know, because I went through it with my mum. If we hadn't have had it, because you can't get to anything, can you?
You can't.
It's like you said earlier. You said when you call someone and they ask you if you're the account holder.
Are you the account holder? Yeah, that's the first
block,
question.
isn't it?
Yeah, and then they won't even speak to you. So, and I think people assume that if a loved one loses capacity, that there's some kind of something happens.
You're the daughter, it's fine. You know, of course they have to speak to me, but they can't.
Are you the account holder? No, but mum's poorly, and somehow they think that would allow them to get the information. And quite rightly, this person is now a vulnerable person, so should quite rightly be protected. But if you haven't got a legal document in place that gives you that authority, you're going to find it absolutely impossible, even just to do the simple things like paying utility bills or, you know, claiming benefits. If somebody's poorly and needs help and there's help available, you need the legal authority to be able to do that on their behalf. Even down to, you know, if someone's needing long-term care and making decisions about them going into a permanent care place, you cannot access their property and bank accounts and sell their property to get the liquid assets to pay for that care if you haven't got the legal authority to do so. So constantly, you can imagine your loved one is suffering, you know, you need this document because something awful has happened to somebody you love, and you're trying to deal with all those kind of emotions. But then if you're hitting hurdles every step of the way in trying to help them, it can make it a really difficult process. You know, this is a horrible time for somebody to go through, and not having this document means it's so much harder. you're wanting to do everything you possibly can to help your loved one, and you can't do it. You can't do it.
So Ian, can you briefly explain what lasting power of attorney is and what it allows you to do?
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, you choose someone that you trust. So as Helen said, you can only do that now today whilst you have the capacity to do so. But you say, well, I trust my wife, I trust my son, I trust my daughter, I trust these people that they will basically carry out my affairs the way that I would want them carried out. So you put that document in place today whilst you can, and if life throws you that curveball, because when you had capacity you already said, I trust these people, they step into your shoes, and it's a bit of an oversimplification, but for all intents and purposes, they become you in the eyes of the institutions that you deal with. And on the health and welfare side, so the more emotive side of it, you give them your voice. So dad wouldn't want this or mum wouldn't want that, they would want A, B and C. It's in the title, power, but it's an incredibly powerful document because you are literally saying, I trust this person to become me. If you don't have that, unfortunately, then there's a very, very different route. And as Helen's just said, we're not even alluding to it, you can't do anything. You can't do anything without the authority. And this is one of those frustrating things where people, again, can't quite tell you why they think everything will be okay. They don't know where that information or that beliefs come from. They just assume, well, we're married or we've lived together for this period of time. So there must be some mechanism in place where I can just step into their shoes. And sadly, it's just not the case. If you can't do it while someone has capacity, you certainly can't do it when they've lost capacity. And that's the thing that people don't seem to get a grasp of. This is really important to have in place, and then hope you never need to use it, truthfully.
Yeah.
And what happens if you haven't got it?
Then someone, first of all, someone who you hope is the right person, it's the person that you would have chosen yourself, has to apply for something called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. So that's a really long process. The forms themselves are horrific to fill out. If you don't use a professional to do the forms, the fees in doing that are astronomical as well. The application fee alone is £371. We're talking today an exclusive offer through ShopOnTV is you can draft a lasting power of attorney for £179. The application fee to the Court of Protection is £371. There'll then be a hearing fee of a hearing fee of £494. There could be an assessment fee of £100, and then there's an annual supervision fee of £320. So you're just shy of £1,300 if you apply for it yourself. Some people need professional help to do that because they're dealing with a court.
Right.
And don't lose sight of the fact that you're having to do all of this whilst you're still trying to care for your loved ones. So, there's a lot coming on you as an individual because someone very close to you is becoming incapacitated, so that's hard enough to deal with. Then you've got to deal with this.
It's a horrible process as well. We do help. We have a court protection department and a team there that does help people that find themselves in this situation. But the whole process, you have to justify why you're the right person to manage those affairs. Because quite rightly, if that person hasn't appointed someone while they've got capacity, the person who's putting themselves forward has to go under court scrutiny. Yeah. So they have to have all sorts of background checks on them and things like that. It's a horrible process to go through.
And you were saying really lengthy as well, weren't you?
It is. I mean, a good time it can take 9 months, just to get the order through, which you can imagine at a time when you're trying to help somebody who's lost capacity. That's a long time, and that's a long time to finance things in the interim.
Yes, in
because it's
times.
down to the family then. If they can't access mum or dad's money to pay for their care, who's going to finance it in the meantime? It's a lengthy, it's a really difficult and horrendous process for someone to have to go through, and you can understand why it's such a difficult process because they're protecting someone vulnerable, but it's so easy to avoid it by just having a power of attorney in place.
And it's so simple to do. I did it for mum.
Yeah, and the whole process was
so simple.
So simple.
I sat with mum while she's shocked because perhaps mum would be just too worried and frightened. I get really worried about things to do with law and saying and doing.
But the
wrong
team
thing.
are also really good at letting you know how it has to happen. If you do have someone with you, how it has to happen. The process was so good.
Honestly, the lady we spoke to
She was fab.
So lovely, and no question was a foolish question. She talked us through everything, explained everything, but also made us understand how important it is to actually fill forms in correctly.
Yeah.
Because one of the signatures we got from the witness, a lady we'd lived next door to forever, we didn't realise that the name we called her was actually her middle name.
Yeah.
So when we filled the form in, she signed it as her name, what we called her. But when she printed her name, she printed it how it should be, you know,
Yeah.
and you realised it, and you were like,
Didn't
no,
match,
this doesn't match.
That's one of the most important things,
correct.
because we know the sorts of things that if it is ever needed, we know the sorts of things where it's going to be
Yeah.
queried.
Thought about it.
So it's just making sure that if you do ever need that document, it is done correctly. Yeah, and the signing and the witnessing and the dating of everything.
And you check all that
Exactly,
thoroughly, don't
yeah.
Well, your team
Yeah.
called it out, you know,
Yeah.
they were like, this
Yeah.
doesn't match.
This is all part of the service. I think people don't necessarily appreciate or understand there is more to it than just the drafting. It's making sure it's not just from the point you contact us now, it's right up to the point of making sure that document is going to work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? And the really sad cases are someone might lose capacity and the family might go, oh, I think Dad did a lasting power of attorney. They grab it out of a drawer somewhere and they might not know what they're looking at because there's 20 pages in this document.
Yeah.
And so they send it off to the Office of Public Guardian to get registered, and of course it's not signed or witnessed correctly, then it gets rejected. But Dad's already lost capacity, so now, so if you're going to do it right and use a company like ours, because we're going to make sure that's right, and we're going to take the responsibility and the liability for doing that. That's why we offer a fully advised and fully insured service. If we mess it up, you're covered.
Right.
If you mess it up, you're not.
No.
And the chances are, and I don't mean this, it's going to sound derogatory, but chances are you're more likely to mess it up because you don't do this every day.
You're not specialist in it like
No.
you guys are.
We're back to the dentist again.
We are back to the dentist.
You're not going to sort your own teeth out. Have you got a toothache?
Everything's aching these days, really. Everything's
These chairs. We're not going to help you at all.
I think we should just amuse any viewers that are still here at 5 to 3. Just leave leave it running for 5 minutes and watch me try and get out of this chair.
Oh, that'll be joyful.
Listen to the noises I make.
Oh, bless. We'll have to give you a rub down.
Well, there's an offer. How long have you been with Sean?
Too long. So we're going to talk. We're talking about LPAs right now. That's the abbreviation, if you like.
Yeah.
Again, to reiterate, they are two different types, aren't they?
There are, yeah. There's the Property and Affairs Lasting Power of Attorney. So that's the one that deals with all the finances.
Right.
So things like opening bank accounts, claiming benefits, dealing with HMRC, any kind of tax affairs, that kind of thing. Even kind of selling property, things like that. That's all possible by your attorney under a Property and Financial Affairs LPA.
Right.
The other one is a Health and Welfare Power of Attorney, and that's a bit more personal. It's about decisions about your medical treatment and where you live, and even down to things like what social activities you take part in on a day-to-day basis. It can be really kind of emotive, things that you wouldn't even think about, really. Things like what food you eat, you know, what things like that, because people have strong opinions on their diet for, you know, sometimes for religious reasons, sometimes
My
for
friend was
preferences.
vegetarian that I was telling you about that got knocked over, and of course they wanted to feed her anything.
Exactly,
And you're like,
yeah.
no, she's
But can you
vegetarian.
imagine if somebody who didn't know you was making those decisions for you? Because they don't know your personal... I think the health and welfare one is arguably more personal, so it's more important to have that person that you know and trust to make the right decisions, to give them the control to do that. Property and financial affairs, everyone can kind of relate to that and think, yeah, that's finances and I can understand why that, and maybe we'll not worry about the health and welfare. But when you start to dig down into it, that can be more important because of the types of decisions that you're going to be making.
Yeah, we decided to do both for Mum because it just made sense.
Yeah, I mean, when someone's making decisions about your medical treatment,
and
where you live, that's such a
Huge.
such
It's
a
your
big
life,
thing.
isn't it? Your life in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, there was a horrendous story a little while ago about a lady who was in care and her daughter was unhappy with her care or wanted her home for Christmas, I think it was, wasn't
remember,
it?
yeah.
And she went and collected her from the care home and took her home. And it made the news because there was a large police presence and all that kind of thing. And the police actually went and took her mum back because her daughter didn't have the
They don't have the
legal
authority,
authority
yeah.
to deal with it. And you can imagine that situation just seems bizarre. You know, the daughter wanted to make sure her mum was well cared for, with all good intention, and suddenly, because she didn't have this legal authority, the police were involved and it was front page news.
Awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Heartbreaking,
awful.
isn't it? Absolutely heartbreaking.
And it's all avoidable.
Easily
It's
avoidable.
frustrating. It's frustrating for the layperson looking at this and going, but a daughter should be able to get.
Yeah.
And
Of course, yeah.
with our position, it's like, well, they can. If
Need
you've
this
got
in
this.
place.
if when you've got capacity, you've got this in place. There's always a solution, but unfortunately, there's a point, certainly what we do, where it's obviously too late. And if someone's lost capacity, it's too late to do a lasting power of attorney. Obviously, if someone's passed away, it's too late to do a will. That's why, you know, I'm not being cheesy when I say if you're watching this now, don't put it off.
No.
Because, you know, tomorrow you'll think of something more interesting to spend your money on, because you won't realise how interesting and important this is. And I'll go back to what I always say is no one ever regrets putting estate planning in place, because there's nothing to regret. No one ever wakes up and thinks, oh, I wish I'd never done my will.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But one day your family might go, why didn't that person do a will?
Right, yeah.
Why are we having to go through this? And sometimes it's purely because they didn't know. There is a lack of knowledge out there, as we've said. So you can only know what you know. But if you're watching this show this morning and some of this is resonating with you, please send us a text, pick up the phone, the client care team will deal with it. It'll be the most amazing thing that you do this year.
Yeah. So simple.
Yeah.
It's so affordable as well, because you do imagine these things to be really expensive, and the offers we've got for Shop on TV are quite incredible. That makes it really affordable to make sure you have this peace of mind that what you want to happen is going to happen. Because honestly, whatever you think, that isn't what happens legally in any situation, whether you're looking at doing a will or lasting power of attorney. You really have so little, well, no control over it at all. It all goes through, you know, it's law. And unless you've written a will, unless you've got lasting power of attorney, what you want won't happen. Now, those prices are phenomenal. I know we didn't write a will, well, we didn't think we needed one and realised we truly, really did. But then we thought it'd be very expensive. I would happily have paid £180 for the family and estate will, but actually your deal tonight is £89, and that is split over 4 payments, £22.25, which you can spend that, can't you, on coffee in a week. It's nothing, but it's giving you the peace of mind that what you want to happen when you pass truly does. The people you love that have looked after you, that you want to give that beautiful ring to, you know, they will get what you want them to have. And it could be the opposite. The people that you don't want to have things don't get those things. But if you haven't got a will, the complete opposite can happen.
Yeah, it's £22.25 on your first of 4 payments.
Nothing, is it?
It's nothing. The lasting power of attorney that we've talked about, remember there are 2 different types there. £179 is our Shop on TV price. Retail suggested price is £325, but with those 4 interest-free payments, £44.75 on your first of 4 payments. If you've watched the show tonight and you're thinking, oh, I could do the will and the lasting power of attorney, we've got an even better offer there from Simpler Law. If you want to go for the 2 of them, £505 on a suggested retail price comes down to £249, and that comes down to £62.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. Remember, the first 250 clients will also receive that book that we talked about, What My Family Should Know book. In there, you'll keep everything that you need, everything your family will need when you do pass away. So they'll find things like passwords for your social media, your passwords for your phone, and for things like your tablet and your computer, but then your utility bills and bank accounts and insurance policies all can be in that book. The first 250 people will get that book, What My Family Should Know. Very importantly, though, how to get in touch.
So easy this morning. However, whichever is the easiest way. You might think, oh, I'll never use the internet. Jump onto the phones. They're waiting for you. And that's 0333 600 2600, and waiting for you until 3 a.m. They're right there now. Don't need to answer any complicated questions this morning. All you're doing is getting in touch. You're securing that deal. You're making sure you're getting that book as well, and then they'll get in contact with you to sort out a date to actually have the appointments. Or you can use, of course, the internet, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV, or you can go through our website, actually. If you know our website, it's on your system already. Go onto our website, shopontv.co.uk. shopOnTV.co.uk, and you'll find right on that home page, you'll see it straight away. Bright yellow, Simpler Law. Click onto that, takes you through to Simpler Law's website. You see the deals that we've been talking about. You secure that deal by just filling in those details at the bottom of the screen there, your name, phone number, email, and then three easy questions, and submit that. And so entirely up to you whether you use the internet or the phones, but lots of people are loving the text, and text is a nice idea.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk to someone right now, to talk to someone a little bit later.
Yeah, the team will get back in touch with you tomorrow or today after 11 a.m. this morning. So if you've had a late night with us, as I say, the team will be in touch after 11 a.m. Just got to text the word WILL, WILL, to 66777. So that's WILL to 66777, and the team will be in touch after 11 a.m. And you've secured the deals then, whether it's the wills, whether it's the lasting power of attorney, or whether it's the combination of the two together with that biggest saving. Speaking of wills, I think we should go back to wills. And Helen, let's talk about misconceptions when it comes to wills, because I think a lot of people like us have the wrong idea of what they think will happen automatically.
Yeah, and I think these misconceptions exist because there isn't the information out there. You know, one of the reasons we do these shows is to get the information out there so that people do understand what happens if you die without a will in place. Because a lot of people have this kind of understanding, or kind of think they understand that everything will just be okay.
Yeah.
You know, me and my partner have been together like you for 30 years. They've lived together, they've got property together, they might have children together, and they just assume then that if something happened to one of them, that everything would pass to the survivor. And of course it wouldn't, because they're unmarried. You know, and likewise, married couples, you know, they automatically assume, well, we're married, so we're okay then. Well, no, it doesn't mean that everything will pass to your spouse. There's something called a statutory legacy that they will receive, but then everything else is divided up according to your family and whether you've got children and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So,
I didn't know that in a married situation.
yeah, so for everybody, you know, if you've got young children, people think, well, that's fine because everything will just automatically go to my children. Well, it might do, depending on your situation, but also if it passes under the rules of intestacy to your children, they'll inherit outright at 18. And I think a lot of people would go, well, hang on, I don't want my children to have
everything.
Yeah, I'd rather
age,
them have it at 21 or 25. Can I do that? Well, absolutely. If you write a will, you can stipulate what age your children can inherit. So all these kind of little things that until you start having conversations with people, that's when it all comes out. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that would happen. But of course we have to get in front of them and have that conversation, or they have to pick up the phone and ask us these kind of questions and let us speak to them about their personal circumstances, because I can guarantee that every single person watching the show is unique in their circumstances, and every single one of them will be treated exactly the same under the intestacy rules, and it won't achieve what they want to achieve. So we need to have that conversation, and the only way we can do that is if they contact us this morning.
And it is as simple as a conversation.
It is.
No, it's truly as simple as that. It's not complicated. You don't need to know a great deal. It's just a chat where you discover what you need to do. And everybody, and I'm learning even more as you're talking, it is absolutely everybody, whether you're a guy on his own, whether you're a couple that are married or unmarried, it doesn't matter. You need, if you want your possessions to go to loved ones, you have to and must write a will. Because Ian, if we don't write a will, what does happen?
There's a default position in the UK, so if you don't write a will, you are actually making a second decision that you're probably unaware of, which is, Helen's alluded to it. You pass away and your estate is distributed according to something called the rules of intestacy. This is a set of rules that was created in 1925 when society and families were very, very different. But essentially, it starts by asking the question of the deceased of whether they were married in a civil partnership. And this is where some of the myth occurs. I think, like, you were both honest enough to say that you've been together for 33, 34 years and thought that was enough. And we hear the phrase common law husband and wife banded around. But it really is a yes or no question. Are you married or in a civil partnership? It doesn't ask if you're in love. It doesn't ask if you cohabit. It's a blunt question, and it's yes or no. And depending on the answer to these yes or no questions takes you to the point where it's going to be distributed. And that isn't always what our clients want. And unfortunately, these rules that were built in 1925 don't now reflect society as it is today. So it sounds really melodramatic, but I stand by this statement. The rules of intestacy will rip those families apart. Dynamic families now, where you might be on your second marriage, you might even be married longer the second time round than the first time round. And you may have children together. You may have children from previous relationships. And that's when the rules of intestacy rips that family to pieces, because it's only interested in your respective bloodline, in the deceased bloodline. So I did see some clients a while ago. It was a referral to me. I went to see them, and the guy was a typical guy, if I'm honest, Sean. Arms folded, I don't need any of this.
Right.
It turned out that they were on the second relationship, and they both got daughters from their previous marriage. And I brought out my finger puppets, which is very, very crass. But I basically said, well, Mr. Smith, if you passed away first, without making a will, as it stands with the size of your estate, everything's going to go to Mrs. Smith. Yep, that's what I want. I said, then when Mrs. Smith dies, I said, unfortunately, everything's just going to go to her daughter, to the exclusion of yours. He went, nope. I went, yep. But he was of the understanding, because someone down the pub had told him that because they were a family, that everything would go equal to his daughters, and he didn't need to speak to anyone about a will, and he was wasting his money.
God.
So I showed him the rules of intestacy, which is not ours. That's the legislature. That's the government will. I said, look, there you go. This is what will happen. And he was like, oh, we do need a will. I said, everyone needs a will. I said, they just don't understand it. So there is this. I saw, you see it firsthand every day. It's, no, everything will be okay. Our girls will inherit. No, they won't. I did explain it worked the other way. You know, if Mrs. Smith died first, it went to him, it would be her daughter losing out. But they saw themselves as a complete family.
Of course.
The rules of intestacy didn't. But when they made their own will, guess what? Their own will saw them as the family, so both girls are going to inherit in equal shares now. It took less than half an hour to sort that out. And it's not much time, and it's not much money. You know, you can secure a will tonight for the equivalent of like 70p a day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a huge thing. I don't understand why people put it off, because it's an absolutely amazing thing that
I think people don't put it off as such. You just don't get round to it, do you?
And I think lots
Which
of people
is
think they don't need
crazy,
it.
because it's so important.
But you think you don't?
Yeah,
need it?
yeah.
And
Oh,
the story you told about
what you just
this
said
one
there.
blew me away. The guy in his 40s that died.
Yeah,
who
the
was on his
doctors.
own.
I don't know why.
wouldn't think-
Out of all the stories, I don't know why that one stuck with me, but I think it's because I have a recollection of seeing how upset his
Because
mom's.
I think he would think, I don't need a will. It's only me. Who am I going to leave it to?
Well, this is what I always say: is this gentleman who passed away will never understand why he didn't have a will, because he was an academic, he was bright, but that doesn't mean anything, because you can only know what you know. So he was an expert in his field, but did he think, well, I'm only in my 40s, so I'll do it in 20
So
years?
recap that story for us, for anyone who's just joined.
So very quickly, when this gentleman was born, his father walked out on the family, never to be seen again. So there was no birthday cards, there was no contact. So basically, his mom was left to bring up two boys on her own.
Right.
Which, okay, that happened. That's happened, and Dad's gone. But Dad's made a conscious decision not to be a part of the boys' lives and this family. And then sadly, this gentleman's passed away totally unexpectedly, suddenly, but he's not got a will. So he's died intestate. So the first question in the rules of intestacy, as I've said, is, are you married in a civil partnership? The answer for this gentleman was no, he wasn't married or in a civil partnership. That then takes you to the next question, which, do you have children? Well, this gentleman didn't have children neither. So that takes you to the next question, and that was, do you have parents? The answer was yes. Well, we know about Mom because she was giving this interview, but the actual conclusion of his estate was it's shared equally between your parents. So essentially, his mom, who's lost a son, now has to track down the father that walked out on them 40, 50 years ago and never been a part of their life, to say, by the way, your youngest son's passed away, you're entitled to half of his estate.
You would never.
Makes my hair
imagine that,
stand
would
on
you?
end.
It's no like-minded, rational person, logical, with morals would think.
That's all.
That's right.
Everyone goes, well, that's not right. And people get really frustrated with that story. And I'm saying the law isn't about right or wrong. And this is the default position. That's just the position that he was in.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realise, otherwise they would make a will immediately, is that is their will. I'll sometimes, when I meet new people, I'll be a little bit clever and say, have you got a will? And when they say no, I'll go, well, actually, you have. Because by not making your own will, you've got the rules of intestacy, you've got the government will.
Right, yeah.
So when people say they haven't got a will, what they're actually saying is, I'm going to accept that a set of rules basically created in 1925 is going to distribute my estate and take no consideration of my personal circumstances or my loved ones. You don't want to die intestate. So if you're thinking about making a will, in the nicest possible way, stop thinking and just do it.
Yeah, whatever situation you're in. And it blew me away because I just think that gentleman would just think, there's only me. I'll wait until I'm in a relationship, I'll wait until I have children, then I'll make a will and I'll leave it to, not even thinking for a minute, because I think we won't need a will until we're old.
No.
And the truth is you don't know what's around the corner. He would never have not written a will if he had realised what was going to happen.
No, without a doubt. From all the scenarios we've talked about tonight.
And it's so simple.
We've seen that everybody needs a will. So whether it's the will offer, whether it's the will with the legal power of attorney that's on the screen, or whether it's the legal power of attorney on its own, it's completely up to you to take advantage of the offers that we've got for you tonight. And
everything is so affordable. The deals are exclusive to us on ShopOnTV, so you do need to secure them tonight if you want them. So it makes it, this is another thing that you perhaps think, you probably thought, well, yeah, a will be really expensive, isn't it? It's all technical and all law and it's really complicated. It's not at all. So simple to do. Simpler law make it simple. They make it so they hold your hand, they talk you through everything. You don't have to think about a thing really. All you need to do today is you're taking a step for that peace of mind that what you want to happen after you've passed actually does happen, because as you're hearing through these stories, what we think will happen is it's the complete opposite. So if you do want to write a will, I'd happily spend £180 to make sure who I want to get what I want to have gets it, and who I don't want to have things doesn't get it. I'd pay £180, but our deal today is £89, and that over 4 payments is £22.25. It's nothing, is it? It's a few cups of coffee, and you've actually made sure that who you want to have, and it might be a precious ring. You might not think you have a great deal, but it might be your pets. We all have something, and you want to make sure that it goes to the right people. So if you want to get that will deal tonight, you do need to get in contact. But then we've got lasting power of attorney, which I think is just as important as a will.
it really is. This we'll talk more about before the end of the show. Hopefully we'll have time to fit it in. £325 comes down to £179. You can split that cost across 4 interest-free payments, £44.75 on your first 4 payments. Remember, you're just securing these deals tonight. You don't need any information with you when you do get in touch. You're just securing the deals. We'll ask you a couple of simple questions. And then the combination, the biggest saving, is if you go for the will and the lasting power of attorney together. Should be £505. It's down to £249, and that's £62.25 on your first of 4 payments.
And the first 250 people will get a fabulous book, What My Family Should Know, and it's a book that I think everybody should have. We should be giving it at birth, because this is a book that actually gives you the opportunity to put all your information into one place. It's fantastic, and on the first page it talks you through how there is so much lost money in banks, in all sorts of different places, forgotten pensions,
because
unclaimed
people
bank
haven't found
accounts.
them, haven't claimed them.
So you put everything in here. So your family know all of your bank account details. They know the passwords.
Passwords to things like your tablet and your phone.
Yes, yeah. It's not just about bank accounts.
Utility bills, who your operators
Bonds
are.
and shares, pensions.
Insurance policies, it's all in that one place. If you've ever sadly lost anyone and you have to go around to the house and you have to find everything, everything's in different places usually, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can all be in that one spot. First 250 people who get in touch and with Simple Law tonight will get that book. I think it's invaluable.
Absolutely, it's priceless, and lots of people that don't get it do want to buy it, because it just makes, again, it's that peace of mind that you've left something for your loved ones, so they know everything is right there, not in boxes everywhere or hunting. And so many things now, like Helen was saying, we don't have letters and things sent through. Everything is on email, or
Digital,
you'd have no idea where different things were. It's all in that book, and it will be for the first 250 people. So that's another reason it's well worth securing the deals this morning. So please do. Either, it's entirely up to you, use the website, use the phones, text. I mean, it's so simple.
Yeah, well, the call centre's still open right now. It's open right through till 3 a.m. Let's show you the couple of different ways that you can get in touch. It's very simple, very straightforward. simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV will take you straight through to the offers. You can call, as I say, the call centre are still open, 0333 600 2600. Or if you don't want to speak to anyone tonight, you can text the word WILL, WILL, to 66777, and the team from Simpler Law will get in touch with you after 11 a.m. this morning.
So simple, isn't it? And you're taking that first step to do something that is going to give you that peace of mind. I love Ian keeps saying, no one's ever said, oh, I wish I hadn't bothered writing a will. It's so important to have everything written down legally. And Ian, for anybody that's watching, why should we pick Simpler Law for whether we're looking at law, wills or lasting power of attorney?
This is what we specialise in. This is all we do, frankly. We put the client at the heart of everything that we do, and that all starts with a will and a lasting power of attorney. That's the core of estate planning. So you wouldn't come to us for any other legal service, frankly. We don't specialise in any other area, we just specialise in this one. There's no question that we can't answer. The client care team are absolutely phenomenal because, this is what they do for a living every single day. They're not dipping in and out of different things. I think you've experienced it yourself. There's no stuff in us. We don't look down on anybody. Yeah. We appreciate that whilst this is what we do every single day, we know for a lot of our clients it's the first time they've ever done it. So we talk to them and treat them as such. We don't assume that they understand all the terminology that we use. We hold the hand, we'll take you through the process at a pace that suits you. We'll take instructions from you, we'll give appropriate advice to you, and at the end of it, you will get the document that is right for you. More importantly, if you write a will, you won't need the rules of intestacy. You've put them to one side, and we'll make sure that those documents are signed and witnessed and dated correctly so they're going to work. And we'll basically make sure that everything that you did and chose to do today is going to work at the point of need, because that's what we do.
Yeah. We
don't do anything else. That is, it's not a very exciting business model, but it's incredibly effective. We want to reach as many people as we can because we understand firsthand that planning is so selfless and is so valuable. You genuinely, I joke, I say we can't put a price on it. We have £22.25 over 4 months. But look, I stop and pick a coffee up on my way to the office, and I stop and pick a coffee up on my way home, and I spend over £12 on that coffee, which is absolutely ridiculous, really. But you're right, when you put it in the context, we spend lots of money on things that we want. Yep. Sometimes we don't spend money on things that we need. And sometimes we'll insure or protect the wrong things. We'll all protect our phone, we might protect our pet, we might protect our boiler. We'll protect the contents in our home, and we'll pay hundreds of pounds for all this stuff, and we neglect ourselves and our loved ones. So this is really, really affordable, and at the same time, incredibly valuable. So seriously, if you're thinking about it, stop the thinking part of it and just go for it, because you won't regret that you did.
It's your final gift, and the truth is, and sadly we're coming towards the end of the show, because we could sit and chat about this for hours. I find it so interesting. It really unlocks things in your mind. You think, oh my goodness, of course I need a will. We should do lasting power of attorney. If we don't get a will, the complete opposite to what we presume will happen actually happens, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Under the rules of intestacy, these government rules dictate who inherits from your estate. And it's not just about that as well. A will does so much more than that. In a will, you get to choose your executors and who looks after your estate for you. So you can decide who's got the legal responsibility to actually gather all your assets together. Because I know I wouldn't want just anybody doing that. Writing your will is all about being in control. And saying who's going to deal with everything, who's going to get what, and more importantly, who's going to be excluded from that as well, because that's really important. We see so many families now that are disjointed, where parents haven't got contact with their children anymore. They've got a son who's really close to them, and another one who perhaps moved away years ago and they're not as close, and they don't want to treat them the same under the will. It might be that the son here has made sacrifices to look after mum and things like that, and they want to reward him for doing that. He's made financial sacrifices. The rules of intestacy will treat those two children exactly the same.
Right.
There's nothing personal about it at all.
At all.
The only way that you can make sure that things happen as you want them to is to make sure it's in a legally binding document and in a will.
And it is everyone who's got to think about this, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, because all of our situations are unique to us. That, you know, we said earlier that in the studio just us four can't possibly have the same situation.
No.
You extrapolate that out across the UK, everyone's situation is unique. Your own personal wants and wishes are unique to you, and of course your family makeup is. So one set of rules that's meant to address everyone's situation can't do that. So the only way to the last act, as you put it, Hayley, I like that, the last act on the planet, if you like, the only way to make sure that's the right one is you control it. And the way you control it is you dictate the will. You create a will that's right for you and right for your family and does what you want it to do, not a set of rules that was set by the government in 1925, which doesn't care about you.
It seems crazy, doesn't it, that it just takes that path?
There has to be a default mechanism.
Of course.
And that's the point. And I think that's the thing that really there is a lack of knowledge about, is if I don't make a will, everything will be okay.
What happens, yeah.
Well, it won't be, because actually this set of rules are going to kick in.
Yeah.
And they don't care about your wishes or your family.
No.
So if you care about yourself and everything you've worked hard for, and you care about your family, do something really selfless and make
Get
a
it
will.
in place.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they've looked at these rules of intestacy and they've had government consultations on, do we need to update them and bring them up to light? And the answer is yes, they do. But when they start looking at it, like there was a big consultation on cohabitation, but then they realised as soon as they started looking into it, well, then it gets really complicated. Because how do you dictate, you know, is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? You know, and they suddenly went, well, this is way too complicated, so we're not going to do anything.
Well, leave it as it is, and people can sort out their own mess.
And it is a mess, and it can ruin families. It can mean your loved one doesn't get what you wanted them to have. Sean and myself have been together 33, 34 years, and just presumed we've lived together, worked together. We've virtually lived in each other's pocket. We've probably been together more than someone that's been married for 70 years, possibly, because we're
always
together.
together.
We're always together. And of course, mine is Sean's and Sean's is mine, but by the law, that would not be what happened, and we didn't realise until
But you can
quite
sort
recently.
all of that out in
so
moments.
easily, so affordably as well. And if you haven't written all the details down, please jump onto our website, ShopOnTV, and just go through to Simpler Law website and just fill in the details to secure the deal that the deals that we've got.
And remember,
tonight.
if you want the team to text you back after 11 a.m. this morning, just send the word will, text the word will to 66777, and the team will get back to you after 11 a.m. this morning.
And that's just securing the deals. You don't need to answer any tricky questions.
No, you don't need anything.
It's just securing the deals, and they'll get contact in the future to set up that right time to have an appointment with you. We've got to say a massive thank you to Helen and Ian, Andy, Fred.
Andy.
I'll answer to anything,
Whatever I've called
I'll
you
answer
this
to
evening, I
anything.
do apologise. But a massive thank you as well for watching. And I know you will thank Simpler Law, because it was one of the best things we ever did, and the lasting power of attorney for my mum. Brilliant.
And so easy to do. That's the great thing about it. Get those things in motion, get it started, don't leave it for any longer. From the whole team here, we'll see you later.